Here we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Arm Wrestling Buzz Show. This is Hollywood McConnelly with the double biceps. It is in the contract and legal requirement every single time we appear on camera, just making sure the lawyers are happy, the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. We have ticked that box. We have a very special guest here today with his own bicep there. It is, in fact, the 27-time British champion, Iron Paul Maiden, and also one half of the Arm Gods promotion. And they put on an absolutely tremendous event. Arm Gods in Wales just took place on the weekend. Welcome to the show, Paul Maiden.
Welcome, Matt. Thank you for having me, bud. Much appreciated to finally be on the buzz at this obscene hour.
Yeah, it's like 2:30 in the morning for you guys.
Yeah, just set me alarm. England won last night, so with the football, they got into the final of the European Cup, so it was quite a late night anyway. So I got my head down a couple of hours, and then obviously this is an even bigger event than England making European final.
Oh, that's right. Well, the great thing is to have you on the show because we were going to do it last week, and then I think by the time we sort of got in contact and everything, it was like, it was a little bit too late. But it works out better, I think, this way because we get to talk about the event that took place. And 16 matches, Wales, huge card, big event. I watched it live. It looked like everything went to plan. There was no sort of big mess ups or anything like that. It was a very smoothly run event, and we saw some incredible wars between some of the competitors there. How did you feel that the event ran overall?
Yeah, it was amazing. It was the second edition of Arm Gods Wales, which is a domestic series thing that we do, and it was unreal. The crowd are very passionate in Wales, especially when you make the country versus country, and in that case, obviously it's Wales versus the rest of Great Britain. And where we position it in a place called Merthyr Tydfil, let's just say that the people are some of the most passionate in the country of Wales. It's like in the valleys, it's deep inside, it's real like down there. The people are, they don't venture out much. It's like pretty much like Hillbilly Heaven. They've all got one tooth, pickle stabbers. they don't do anything apart from drink beer and literally support Wales. And it's the most perfect place in the world to have a tournament or an event. There was 155 people, paying people, and out of all them, there was about 11 arm wrestlers total.
Jeez.
Yeah, like that. The arm wrestlers, we don't even count them. We don't even count the arm wrestlers in the crowd. We only get the people that we don't know. And last year it was 100. So obviously it's a growing thing, and we've already been asked, can we go back more than once a year? Overall, huge success to getting it out to the general public. It's clearly grown, 33%. And yeah, all good.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic. It's so clever. I was saying this on the review that I did to build in that immediate patriotism side of things. And I think it was that you had Wales basically involved in nearly every match. And then it wasn't directly Wales versus England, but it was like the UK or, other parts of that region.
You had 15 Welsh against 15 Great Britain. And there was just one Great Britain versus Great Britain, which was the 75 kilo Arm Gods Championship between Jason Hill and Tom Mitchell, former 2022 world champion, which didn't disappoint. That was more of a highlight and obviously an event just to get them two guys out there. But you're genuinely 15 against 15. And I trained two Welshies as well, what competed for Wales, which is I was a bit torn. I've got Ruben Hughes and Murray Whitehead. I had three guys who I coach on the card, including the midget missile Nick Dodd. But so I was coaching two Welshies, so I was sort of like torn between the Welsh and the English just within two matches. So I was called a traitor, an arsehole, all sorts of stuff.
Oh, I'm sure you've not used to having to deal with insults or throwing out insults.
It's part and parcel of the UK banter, innit? I mean, it's just nothing but piss tech, and I think that's what fits in with Wales and rest of UK into our God's thing. You know, when we went to Canada, it was an amazing time. They have a very similar supporting mindset as us. Obviously, a Commonwealth country. We had Commonwealth titles on the line, and we understand it quite well, like we do with Aussies and New Zealanders. We have a very similar type piss taker banter, a bit different sometimes with the Americans. Sometimes I don't think they know how to take us sometimes, but especially like with Canada, when you nail it and you nail these the mindsets of the people, these take the out your hand, and this is how you can build arm wrestling and really get like your granny from number 27 or your uncle from 53 and your sister's mate from number 21, and that's what we did in Wales, Matt. Like we literally had Nathan Davey sold something like 38 tickets to himself, like of his friends and family from work, and that's what you need as an arm wrestler, as a promotion when you want to get the rest of the world involved type thing. And that's what was exciting. All these people that come along was just new faces everywhere. My sister's friends from work travelled. They went over to Ireland. They travelled over to Wales. They're hooked on it. Once they get involved in that in that actual buzz, arm wrestling buzz, and they see it's not just like a 5-6 minute setup and like pissing around. Because let's be honest, that turns people away. If you've got new guys watching it, no new person's interested. We might be interested in a 2 minute setup because we're looking at all different technical aspects of the sport. But a brand new person watching in is not interested at all. They'll just go click and turn off. Whereas with our rule set, with everything that we was doing at weekend, we're doing something right. No matter how outrageous we are, people are tagging on to us. They're sticking to us like a tick on a sheep. Do you know what I mean? And we're keeping it, man. It's awesome. We're on a real good run right now. Real good run.
Oh, absolutely. You're doing a tremendous job, mate. And on that, we'll just welcome the host of the show, the arm wrestling buzz aficionado. It is the former fitness model and entrepreneur businessman who's setting up businesses all over America at the moment, which is why we're sort of running it online, because you're too busy, or you've just literally checked into a hotel and you probably jumped onto the Wi-Fi there, but it is in fact Paul Italia.
What's up? What's up, everybody? Yeah, I'm sorry I'm late, guys. I just literally checked in like 2 minutes ago, racing around to get here on time and all. But I'm here. I made it. What's up, Paul? How you doing, brother? Great to
Yeah,
see you.
awesome, bud. Awesome, thank you, mate. Yeah, how are you feeling after your little trip to the hospital?
Oh yeah, man. That was not fun. Kidney stones are not fun for sure, man. But I'm all good, 100% healed up. And just been real busy and all, but looking to get back into arm wrestling training and really excited to hear what you guys got going on, man. Arm God's doing it big. Love your shows and everything. So just really curious to hear what you guys got coming up.
Well, apart from domestic stuff like the Triple Crown, which is a big event that we're doing tournament style, which is next month, end of next month. They pull 3 tournaments. There's 10 grand on offer, £10 UK, which is a pretty big deal for us. We don't really get much money get thrown around over here. We've got like a spin the wheel. So what we're doing with that one is you enter and you get keys for entering. If you remember the Arm Gods, you get like 100 keys, which is equivalent to like a spin the wheel. So
Okay.
depending on where you finish in the tournament, obviously you get keys, yeah, chances on the wheel. Now, when you've committed to pulling these 3 tournaments, which is August, January, and April, then at the end of it, we've got 5 grand, 2.5 grand, 1.5 grand, and 3 arm wrestling tables. You can get 1 prize per winner, and everyone's got a pretty much an equal chance. I mean, if you're not an Arm Gods member or a country member, PAA member, then and you win an event, you get 100 keys. But if you're an event member, both, you get 200 keys. So even if you're the lowest end arm wrestler, you've still get 10 keys just for entering whatever position you get, and then you've got a chance of 260 keys just for entering. So
Right.
we're trying to make it as fair as humanly possible so that we can get the tournament stacked and give the lower end guys some faith and a bit more hope and a little bit more help along so they can get their experience and everything else. and as well as like still rewarding the top guys with a crown. They get to sit on a throne, they get a crown and a scepter, and it's just that sort of stuff that we're doing. And then obviously the big one in America next year, which will be Winter Blast, which I'm super excited about. The wheels are turning, and that's going to be unbelievable. Well, I'll let you a little secret. All the UK guys will be wearing red coats, and we're going to have a pipe and drum, so it'll be. So we'll be coming into the Grenadier Guards. Yeah, so that's going to be a fucking opening setup of all time. Like, let me tell you, we're going to be booed and all sorts. We're going to come and burn the fucking White House down, baby. That's what's happening.
I love it, man. I love that you guys are so original, man. You guys are always bringing new things into the sport, getting new eyes on it, man. I love that part of you guys. Armed Guys is for real.
Yeah, you know what, Paul? We get knocked a lot because we veer away from the path. And when we first started off, me and Marcus had a chat, and we spoke how we would change arm wrestling in our own opinion. And there's so many people doing the same thing. We'd have just got blended up and eaten up and spat out, and we wouldn't have been making this difference. And that's fine, no problem. Everyone else who's cracking on, that's their way of doing things. But we're a little bit more eccentric. We like WWE. We look at what sells. We look at a different aspect of things. We're more ECW if you put us into that wrestling world, and that's got its own niche, its own fan base, even to this day. And I think we relate to people. Arm wrestling's like general life. There's a lot of bullshit gets spoken, a lot of crap, a lot more. Not a lot of people want to give back. It's all take, 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 and we're completely opposite to that. We believe that if you selflessly give, then you're going to receive it. Which we are doing with fans. Obviously, arm wrestling promotion isn't a moneymaker yet. Like yourself, Paul. It's difficult to make money, but the truth is that we get in a collection of fans. We get we got a good member base, loyal member base, and we're building from a platonic ground, and we're sprouting. We're like a little tiny sprout right now. That's what we are. We're a little tiny sprout. But the thing is, we've set the roots, so we're not just going to get like a big gust of wind and blow us away and end up being a tumbleweed. We're growing through the ground. We've got a good set of roots, and we're going to continue to grow. And eventually we'll hit bamboo, and we all know what bamboo does. It goes overnight, like this. And love us or hate us, we're here to stay, and we're here for the people. We are the people's champion. And when we come to America, people will realize that. They'll get behind us. And then when we start another worldwide trip, then people will get behind us again, and it'll be a snowball effect. And eventually, we'll be the number one arm wrestling entertainment promotion. I'm not saying arm wrestling promotion because we all know, the big EVW is the one, but we will be up there. Like, we're spoken there now as being a top promotion, and we've only just started. There's really two of us involved, me and Marcus. We do have help. Don't get me wrong. And we appreciate it very much. But Marcus works a full-time job. I'm working full-time. We don't have people helping us. I mean, our thumbnails are terrible. Our posters are shit. But this is it, man. We're making all these mistakes, but each and every time things are getting better. We're not just like hitting this top promotion like you fucking NBC right now. We're down here. We're like a crappy little cable channel. But each and every time we're just plucking away, and eventually, cream rises to the top, and we are cream.
Yeah, what I wanted to bring up tonight was what do we think? How do we think we're growing as in general? Because I've been watching the East versus West, and I just watched this one this past weekend, which we're gonna go over in a little later in the show and all. And I was watching with some new people that weren't really arm wrestlers and all, and I was trying to get them involved. And we were watching like one match, and I mean, they just started talking, and they showed no interest. And I just kept trying to get them back into it, and no matter what I was saying, they didn't know any of the athletes and they didn't care. The only one that they did know was Travis, just because that was my boy and they knew I hung out with him and all. That was the only match that they were paying attention. And it was kind of like driving me crazy because I wanted to watch the matches, and they just kept talking. But it made me think after that. And I'm like, our big Super Bowl of arm wrestling is the East versus West, obviously. It's the biggest stage. Everybody's looking to get to it. But as far as like getting new traction and new eyes on the sport, it's just not it. It's not doing it. And I was reminded this past weekend sitting with these guys because, I was so excited about it. There was so many great matches that I was waiting for. And I'm trying to like get them all hyped up on them, but they just had no interest. And it was like, to be honest, if I wasn't there, they would have turned that off within 5 minutes. They didn't understand with the fouls. They didn't understand any of the stuff. So my I guess question for everybody is how do we get non-arm wrestlers interested? I like your guys' approach, man. I think you guys are got a better approach to get non-arm wrestlers looking. Where a lot of times a lot of the purist arm wrestlers kind of have beef with the way you guys are promoting the sport. But in reality, I think if I would have had my non-arm wrestler friends over watching the arm gods, like let's say for instance, when you guys did the thumbtack match, that in my eyes, in my opinion, I think that would have got them more interested in the arm wrestling, seeing that. Maybe that's not the right example to give, but do you guys feel the same? Have you guys tried getting some of your non-arm wrestler friends over to sit there and watch East versus West with you? And have you like experienced anything like that?
No, because it's to be an absolute snooze fest. And let's be completely honest, it's an arm wrestling purist for arm wrestlers. No, this is where I belong in this subject, Paul. I'm an arm wrestling purist. I've arm wrestled over 25 years. I love arm wrestling, and I can sit there and I can watch anyone arm wrestle because that's me personally. But we're not looking at getting me involved or Hollywood Matt Conley or you or anyone else. We're looking at getting the general public involved, right? And when you're going to get the general public involved, as we were speaking before, you can't have a 5 minute setup. You can't have people shouting and moaning at each other like this and camera going flicking on, and all you can hear is Coach Ray Neal pick up talking. Oh, and this technical breakdown, he's just covering his thumb with a hair hanging out the back of his hand. Shut the fuck up, Neil. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, people don't want to hear it because they don't understand it. They want to hear like someone like Hollywood Matt Conley who knows nothing about arm wrestling. They want to see his take. They want to hear his take on it. They want to hear commentary. What you can relate. I mean, like let's look who you wanted to listen to. I wanted to listen when I was listening to WWE to Jerry the King Lawler. Right, he was amazing. He didn't really go through the technical breakdown and stuff, but it just the way he was in general got me involved, got me invested. He used to make me laugh, and I loved to watch it. Now, commentary teams, I think you need that. Like, not
But let
breaking
me
down the.
ask you this, Paul. So I don't think
Mm.
it's so much the commentary. I don't even think if we had the funniest guy on there, it would have got their attention. I think it's like the show we need to figure out. What are we gonna
Oh,
put on?
100%, yeah. I mean, but I'll trying to break it down from two points of view. So from watching it, from like a TV thing, or whether you'd have took these guys watching it live. Either way, East versus West would have been a snooze fest for them, right? But to get people involved on the TV, you can't be talking technical jarbo like to a non-arm wrestler. You need to have someone who's entertaining, might drop a few one-liners, and come out with
Can
some.
I don't mean to cut you up,
Well,
but can I ask you this? Did Wall achieve that? Because in my eyes, Wall was what the non-arm wrestler needed. I don't know what the difference was, but I feel like that would have caught their attention. Am I right with
okay,
saying that?
so
You
while looked amazing on screen, and it was certainly more appealing to the general public if he was watching it on television. But let's just say it wasn't COVID that destroyed WAL, right? WAL used to get a paying crowd going in. I'd been to two WALs and and the first time, obviously Vegas went pear shaped 2017, but there was paying extras to go in and shout and scream, right? So That isn't going to work when you're paying extras to, going around, right, filling it up. And if there's not enough arm wrestlers in the building to fill it up, apart from the people competing, then even arm wrestlers are not overly concerned about watching it. Now, don't get me wrong, right? WoW was amazing. I love WoW, but they've disappeared, and there's rumours they're coming back. But that was 4 years ago. It was you've got to remember, and if a
But
billionaire like
don't
Steve
don't
Kaplan,
get stuck. I'm not really caring about the organization coming back. I'm just trying to figure out what is the formula to get somebody like my friends to come over, non-arm wrestlers, to sit
I'm the
next to them.
formula. Me,
Okay,
simple as.
and
Arm gods is the
what
formula.
do you believe? What do you believe is the answer? So, do you think it's those exhibition matches? Do you think it was the thumbtack match? What do you believe out of that? What you guys do is making those eyes of non-arm wrestlers stay on and watch us. You know, they'll sit down for 2 hours and watch the whole show.
Well, example, pal, in Wales this weekend, we had show went for 3.5 hours, and not one person, and non-arm wrestling people, left the crowd because it's what you build in. So, for instance, right, a lot of the guys just want commentary from the commentators, right? What we have a crown like a court jester in the crowd, which is usually me, who's entertaining the crowd. Obviously, just simple shit like who wants Wales to win, who wants England to win, and the ooh boo, just stuff like that. And it transfers over to the television. You can hear the atmosphere. You can feel the atmosphere. When you're watching us, you're not getting the most clearest crystal picture. You're seeing red, moody, smoky lights. You think, what the fuck's this? I've just walked into the fucking pits of hell. You know what I mean? You're seeing random giants walking past screen as the touch said, they're like James Stewart, like someone out of fucking Game of Thrones, ice walkers, and you've got crazy commentators, you've got people standing up screaming, beer throwing, swilling, and it's going mental. And that is, let's get it right, that's what the people want to see. The person from outside the sport wants to see this. They want to be entertained. They want to have fun. And if you look at all the other sports, what's involved? Beer, popcorn, fucking WWE fingers, whatever it may be. But beer, people go out to have fun. People watch boxing on TV because you watch this, right? So you watch snooker or pool, right? And you see them playing, but you turn the sound off. You'd be bored within a second, right? But you have commentary on during snooker or pool, and you love it. Yeah, for some reason you love it. Yeah. But then when you start adding all the other things in, all the other party pieces, then you get addicted to it. And we had 145 non-arm wrestling fans watch arm wrestling from the local areas, like people traveling from like England to come and watch again. We're getting non-arm wrestling people in because once we get you there, we create an atmosphere. We create a live event. Yeah, obviously, it's not for everybody, but the truth is, it's for the people outside of the sport who we need to attract, who we need for them to pay that fiver, for
I
who we need to go and buy the beer.
I
And
agree
we,
with what you're saying, and I also see a connection. Um, you're saying the atmosphere of being there at the event is being contagious, and it's getting through to the TV people. I agree with that statement, and I'm applying that what they did with WAL, and it kind of was the same thing. You kind of felt like you were a UFC arena. You felt
Mhm.
the whole crowd going nuts, even though half of them were fake, but they got paid to go scream and yell, so they did their job, and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
translated over to the TV people. So
Hmm.
I agree with what you're saying. I think that is key. And then the thing that I also see is East versus West doesn't give me that same um electricity. It doesn't give me that. It's lacking what WAL had. It's lacking what you did at Arm Gods, where you set the tone and you had all the people around and the people were ahoo, ahoo. Everybody's like rooting for their guys. I believe that is key, and I believe that's where we're missing on East versus West. It's not the
Yeah,
same in person atmosphere.
because you've got a different culture. I mean, like you sat there in Turkey, right? And they're not beer swilling. They're not having a few beers. And we all know when you have a few beers, you get a bit giddy and a sarsaparilla or two, and you're loving life, right? You get some. They don't have like disco music in the background. They don't have a beat to keep you moody, to get to feel it. And all this is part and parcel. Like all these other sports, like boxing and darts, they can't be wrong. Just look at darts. 30 years ago, Paul, 30 years ago, it was in a local Catholic club. They were playing darts, drinking a pint, and they had 6 people watching them. Look at it now. You've got 16-year-old kid who's a multimillionaire from playing darts. There's thousands of fans in, beer swilling, lifting 180 up. It's fucking wild. They're all over the world, and it's just a guy going. That's not exciting. It's not exciting. But everything they do around it, the way that they get the people attached to it, like fucking shit to a blanket, that's the way. It's building the entertainment because people want to be entertained. You don't watch a movie and think, oh, I'm watching this movie because I like the way that they've made that nice blue set in the sky. Oh, that's a nice piece of tumbleweed. You watch a movie because you want to be entertained. Everything, and that's just life. So what do? We entertain people. Now, the thing is, East versus West is the best promotion. Of course it is. It's amazing as a purist thing. And it
But
will
hold on,
attract.
Paul. Before you say it is the best promotion, I want to say it's the best promotion for arm wrestling purists. I
Yes.
wouldn't say
Yeah.
it's the overall best promotion because if you ask me the question, who is the best promotion to get non-arm wrestlers watching, it would be King of Table. Because King of Table were the ones that did the Levon versus Devin. They were the ones that are doing these like really next level big ones. That was the only match that I heard where every non-arm wrestler knew that match was going on. For that like 6 months leading up to that match, I had every non-arm wrestler knew who Devin Lorette was. They knew who Levon was. That
Yeah.
I started saying to myself, yo, we're getting somewhere. This shit's getting mainstream. All non-arm wrestlers, as soon as I say I'm an arm wrestler, first thing they say, oh, that big match between Devin and that Georgian guy. That was
Hmm.
always what they were saying.
Yeah.
So when you say
But
with the promotions, man, East versus West has got its place with the arm wrestlers, but I don't see that as
100%.
the one that's growing our sport at all.
Well, I
I just
don't
wanted
think.
to jump in and
Sorry.
introduce. I just wanted to introduce because he's sitting there in silence, and
Oh,
I didn't want to. So I'll just very quickly say the Master of Disaster, the King of Sting, the Count of Monte Cristo, Thunderlips, the ultimate male. It is in fact your friend and mine. It is Dave Stockbridge. Stockbridge, welcome to the show. I
Thank
thank
you very
you.
much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that very warm introduction, Hollywood Matt Connolly.
As always, mate. As always.
Well,
yeah. So
I think it's the Wild West out there at the moment. Everybody is experimenting. We don't really know how arm wrestling is going to crystallize as a sport. How is it going to be presented? We know how the NFL is presented. We know how MMA is now being presented, but there's experimentation, there's time, there's the distillation and iteration of ideas and concepts. There's also the freedom amongst everybody at the moment is trying to find out what the alchemy is. What's the secret sauce? What's the magic formula that appeases purists and has credible matches and has a format that's watchable, and by the same time also encouraging newbies who might just be casual observers or those people who mightn't otherwise be interested in arm wrestling. How do you get them glued to a screen? And so what I love at the moment is that arm gods are taking it in an extreme in one way. You've got East versus West in the other, and there's this spectrum in the middle where people are trying to work out, are we going to present it like, say, knuckles up and try and be that ESPN quality of presentation? Are we going to be, more casual in our presentation of the sport? I think that's the exciting thing. Is right now you've got 4 or 5 people or 4 or 5 organisations in the world that are testing the elasticity of the arm wrestling viewer to see what will be that formula,
Yeah.
and ultimately this will coalesce at some point. There's that magic formula is going to get hit, and it might be 3 years, 5 years, 10 years time, but there'll be a moment where it'll crystallize and we'll understand what the magic formula is, what gets attention, what keeps attention, and what leads to all of these organizations ultimately growing, or a new successor organization that comes about that just has the formula so right that they're so commercially successful, like UFC, that or the competition will just fade away, and all of the attention will come and coalesce around that organization. So these are really exciting times for the world of arm wrestling.
Well,
Yeah, I definitely
I'll be
agree,
honest
man.
with you, Dave. Sorry, Paul, but I'll tell you now, Dave. There's only one way to build arm wrestling, and that is to build an atmosphere. That is to build a crowd, because these are the people that you want. Like Knuckles Up, great job. East versus West, king of the table. Paul had it right. Devon and Levan, of course, they're going to get people, and they're massive influencers. But the truth is, it's still like sitting in the library, and all you've got is 100 sheiks going.
Yeah, well, you don't have the
All you got to
benefit
do
at
is
Arm
what.
Gods, for instance, or at AWE, where you're going to have a Laban or a Larrett necessarily on the card, and you can't rely on the big names. So you have to, by virtue of the fact of not having the talent that draws attention to it, because I would say this, King of the Table wouldn't be popular if it wasn't for the big name matchups. It's the big name matchups. It's not the presentation. It's the big name matchups that are bringing the attention to the promotion.
Yeah, but that,
So
even they're
God's got to
digging
work
away
out a
there.
different path and
Sorry,
build
Dave, but
build the athletes.
see, the thing is with it, right? I look at it this way: 70 years of whatever 1977 WAF formed and all that bollocks. Arm wrestling's been involved before then. We've been on ESPN multiple times. We've had WAL. We've had billionaires and millionaires with UAL. They've come and they've gone. And arm wrestling's still where it is. It's still in its infancy right now. And the reason why is that because everyone wants a piece of the pie. Everyone just wants to take from arm wrestling what they want to take. No one really wants to give back, right? If anyone gets challenged, like with Engin getting his challenges, arm wrestling's mine, I want this, contracts and all the other bullshit that goes along with it, right? As soon as something like that happens, it's mine, 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 mine. Kick like a kid picking up a ball and running off with it. We people need to realize in arm wrestling, we are in the entire infancy of this sport, and each one of us, even on this screen now, are the pioneers of arm wrestling for 50, 100, 200, 300 years' time. They'll be speaking about us as dinosaurs back, in 300 years arm wrestling, because we're the pioneers of the sport. We're like the Neanderthals, the prehistoric men. That's what we are in this arm wrestling journey right
But
now.
I want to
And
throw in something there because you said something there that hit a spot for me, and because I came in and I originally wanted to be the arm wrestler, got my injury, decided instead of going crazy, came the promoter, and I came a promoter as I didn't want to have my own organization. All I wanted to do was promote other organizations out there. I didn't want anybody to look at me as competition. I wanted to be the guy you hire to put a spotlight on your event. And that was the route I came at because I kept being told by everybody, if you come out here and you start your own thing, everybody's going to go to war with you. Everybody's going to get jealous and you're going to be pushed out. So when I came in here trying to help everybody out and, putting my money into the sport and all, it didn't go the way I wanted. Everybody looked at me exactly what they said as competition. So what I came to
Mhm.
realize, after I gave up with the promotions, I did that for a couple years through a bunch of events and everything. I just got tired of it. I got tired of just all these egos involved, people being jealous, always at competition with me when I'm not trying to compete with them. But because I had a lot of money and I was in the sport, they see me as a serious threat and didn't want to work with me. So I just stepped back and I kind of just analyzed everything. And I started realizing a lot of these organizations and a lot of these guys that are calling themselves promoters in arm wrestling, when you look at their normal life, they're regular guys. You know, they're guys 9 to 5. They work for somebody. They don't have much power. They're not a boss. They come in arm wrestling promoter, and all of a sudden a switch goes off. Now they're Dana White. Now they're on their way to be the next big thing. They start thinking they're going to be making millions of dollars, and goes right into any other new promotion comes out. They got their chest out. They're looking at them as competition, and they don't want to give them any help. They just want to go to war. That's what I see with like 10 different dudes out here. And I'm just like, dude, you guys are power hungry, fighting with each other for no money. There's no money to fight over. It's peanuts right now. We haven't grown to that point, but yet you guys are all fighting like we're fighting over millions of dollars. And I just gotta fall back, and I'm just like, bro, all I see is a bunch of ego narcissists going at it, man. And that's where I see the main problem is everybody wants to be the number one guy. Everybody wants to be Dana White instead of actually wanting to truly grow arm wrestling and help build the sport. Because that's what I came in. My normal day life, man. I own 4 businesses. I'm the boss everywhere I go every day. I take care of 200 people answer to me. I don't want that. I don't have that ego problem when I come into arm wrestling. I don't need to be the boss. I just want to throw great events. But that's where I see the problem is these promoters or just get some sort of power, and now it's just off to the races, and now they're at war with everybody. Do you guys agree with that at all? Am I off with that, or do you think
Well,
there's a lot of egos?
nobody wants to be Dana White more than Hollywood Matt Connolly. I think we can all agree on that. So the but
I've been
yeah,
practicing my Boston accent.
yeah, I think there's an element of truth to that. You know, I think if you've enjoyed success otherwise in business, you know, the easiest way to make a large fortune, a small fortune, is probably invest in an arm wrestling promotion. So, but I think that's the case across a lot of fight sports as well. So if you spend any time around that, you'll see that most of the sponsors aren't sponsors; they're just donating to their mates or to a cause, or you know, just supporting out of the goodness of their heart. There's not millions of dollars there. You know, I wonder though, you know, though it's not there now, you know, to the extent in the back of some people's mind, they do kind of feel like maybe one day this is the way out of their 9 to 5, or this is their way, you know, to express themselves. They might not have the ability to be competing at the top end, but they feel like they've got something to contribute, and I think that's the commercial world to work that out. And you know, if they've got to, they might be an average Joe. They might just be a generalist in their everyday life, but they might just have that one great idea, or that secret sauce, that magic formula, and they bring it to the table, and it's the thing that leads the sport to go to the next level. And I think that's what I was iterating before. I think that's a really exciting thing about the sport right now. We've got a lot of minds that are in the sport that are giving it a crack that would not otherwise have the opportunity if it was any other sport, or if
Okay.
the sport, or if it was in 5 or 10 years' time.
Okay, Dave, here's one. I'm going to put you on the spot. You're involved in AWE. Great events. What makes you different than Knuckles Up? What makes Knuckles Up different than East versus West, King of the Table? I mean, are you, all and these other things that are popping up, the Germany one and obviously the ones, the elite one in Canada. I mean, she come into it. I always forget her name now, God bless her. But the Canadian lady who's doing the elite one now, what's her name? She come to our event off
Magda.
your table.
Magda.
Magna, yeah. She
Yeah.
come to our event and she said it was the best event she's ever been to. And she's an arm wrestling promoter. Because that's our way of doing things. But that's not the question. The question is, what makes you guys different? How are you going to compete? How are you going to be different? I mean, so if you don't look outside of the box, if you're not thinking on a completely different scale than like, you know, because Iron Walls do what you do now, or your last few events, Iron Walls, are you going to compete with them? If they're already a brand name, is that what you're trying to be? Then if you're trying to do the tournament route, are you going back to, are you going to be Knuckles Up? Are you going to be X, Y, and Z? What sets you apart?
Well, one of the positives of the exclusive contract ordeal, so that meant that we couldn't be East versus West or King of the Table. It meant we didn't have the money to throw at the athletes at that point in time. We're only upset because they got there first. You know, they if we had the money, if we had millions of dollars and we had the sponsors and we had the ability, we would have done it. You know,
No,
there
no, but
and
what
with no
sets you
contract.
different, Dave? This is what I'm
So,
saying.
what we've have done since is experiment to see what works for us, what works at our scale. Our scale is not going to be at a king of the table East versus West scale. That's not where we're at. So, what works at a smaller scale at the moment that sustains us into the future? You know, you guys have taken a subscription model. We went to free to wear. Why? Because well, through your experiences, we can see how that might work out. And so on the other side of that spectrum, we're trying to see how we go with a free to wear model. A lot of people are running pay per views at the moment, so well that we can see how pay per views are going to play out. So we've gone the other way, and we'll just post it the next day and edit it up so it's in a nice watchable 25 to 30 minute format. We everybody's doing super matches, so we took the other view and went, let's go with an 8-man double elimination tournament instead. Let's see if that's watchable. Let's see if that works. So we're experimenting as much as anybody. The difference with us is that we've changed our format. We've changed our format several times through necessity in order, but we've changed our format to see what will work for us. We feel like where we're at with the 8-man double eliminate, it's a nice point of difference. So that's what we're doing at the moment in terms of presentation, our presentation of sport. Our our success in our last video release of that tournament is enough to encourage us to stick with that formula and see if we can iterate that so that we can make that highly watchable, so that people who aren't arm wrestlers or arm wrestling fans can feel like that's really digestible
Okay.
and easy for them to consume. So that's where we're at. So there's going to be some tweaking to that formula at our next event, which is October the 20th. There'll be still an 8-man double elimination tournament, but the way that we'll present that will be a little more slick, a little more professional, and so we're just going to see how that works. And at our scale, and with the money that's at our disposal, we're trying to be as successful as we can at this stage. And if we're fortunate in the future where we've got $1 million a year to throw at the thing, well, you'd see things presented differently again. So, but we're keeping ourselves in the game essentially, and trying to find that way of making it sustainable at this scale, so that we can position ourselves where. If we get the formula right, or if we've got something that proves to be successful, then we can take it to the next level.
So,
I think as
so,
well, Paul, I
So
just wanted
a
to
more
add
pragmatic
in.
approach.
So
so
yeah, with our point of difference, I think one of the things that we do really well is getting the audience to understand who the competitors are and caring about the matches. Because as you said, if you're watching East versus West, and then there's 10 matches on there and you've never heard of either guy, it's like, well, I don't care. I don't care who wins. I can't even say their names. They have no personality. There's no video package showing me anything about either of them. It's just they've walked out onto the stage and now they're standing at the table. It's like, all right, well, these are the next two guys. I don't even know what's going to happen. I'm not invested in that. I think what we do well is, we did a video this week, or Dave did a video on Mario Timbakis, and just highlighted this is who Mario Timbakis is. And, he's obviously one of our guys that competes with AWE. And it's just trying to get people to know who these people are, so that when they go on a stage, an AWE stage, they go, oh, I know who that is. He's really strong inside, or he's a top roller, or he's this, or he's really aggressive, or he does that, or whatever. So, to have the characters and have the audience understand who's competing, I think that's one of the things that we do quite well.
It's
Matt,
something we'd
just
like
you
to do
saying
more.
that, bro, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So with those non-arm wrestling buddies, the only person they knew on that card last weekend was Travis, because he was my boy and they seen him on my Facebook and all that. They were all interested in that. So let's go a step further. I think one of you guys, one of you big organizations out there, you guys need to take a page from the UFC when they came out with that reality show, with in the house reality show. I forgot what it was called, like
The
Toughest
Ultimate Fighter.
The Ultimate Fighter. Yeah, I was around UFC then, and I was hanging out with all those guys when they first started. I think we need that in the arm wrestling world. I think that's the only way you're gonna get non-arm wrestlers watching an arm wrestling TV show. You do it as a series. Now, the whole time as that's going on, they're all getting to know the characters, they're getting to know the arm wrestlers. They're starting to say like, oh, I like this guy. He reminds me of myself. You know, they start like finding their guy. They start following that. Now at the end of that, you have the big matches and all that. So now they're all vested in it. Now they're all into it, each character and all. I think that's the way that is going to lead to non-arm wrestlers getting into it. Every other formula I've heard, I mean, we've tried it all for the last 50 years. You know, like you guys said, we did everything. We're just repeating what we did 20 years ago and wonder why it's not working today. I don't think anybody's did anything like this reality show. I think that's the key. I'm going to say it right now. That's what WAL was working on during COVID, and what they were supposed to come out with was the reality show to come out and launch with their season back. Somebody needs to do that. Marcus, if you're listening, bro, get on God's doing that. Matt, you too, man. Like, bro, I'm telling you, that's the way, bro. That's the one. You just said it. You just said it like that, but that's the formula right there. The reality show.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as you know who's competing, and if there's, you can paint the picture as well, especially in those sort of reality show type scenarios where you get a lot of time to build this character and really put their point across. And you can paint them as a villain or a hero, or somebody who's got maybe a family member that they're doing it for, or some sort of purpose. But having a character arc, the same as any TV show, you want to see them at the start, you want to see their journey, and you want to see how they come out at the end, and whether they're a good guy or a bad guy. And it's like, but then the main event, and it's a real fight or it's a real match, it's like, okay, well, I know everything that's going on with these two guys going into this match. I understand every little nuance as to why he's standing like that and he's doing that, and he looked at him that way, and that's it can really just sort of push that interest level, as opposed to just purely the match. All the drama that leads up to it is more fun. Or when McGregor was fighting Mayweather, they were doing like these massive press conference tours, and I think they had about 5 or 6 of these, and they were rating like who won the press conference, McGregor or Mayweather, and it was like, oh, he's up 2-0 on the press conference count, and it's like, that's not even a real thing. But
Yo, how about this? Season 1, the two coaches, Devin and Travis, both have their own team. Get fucking 5 guys on each of those teams, one in each weight class. Have them there, show them about their everyday training, what they do for arm wrestling, getting prepared for their match, what they do to lead up, all the stuff, the recovery, going to physical therapists. I mean, you could make this into a whole show, bro. And I mean,
Well, commercially, the reason why it hasn't happened yet is because the upfront investment that's required to be able to run something like that. And also, that same person who's making that investment needs to have the channel to be able to get it out. And if they're pay-per-view platforms that they ordinarily using, they don't really have that platform in order to get that out. But it is also why King of the Table has proven to be successful, because they're just telling the final chapter of those stories. All the build up of all the career leads to this particular event. So we know who's competing at those events as a community. I don't know if the rest of the world really does, but I think you won't
just so you
won't
know,
find a
bro,
greater ally in that idea than Hollywood Matt Connolly, for instance.
I'd put it at, man, 20, 30,000. You could put a pilot together that you could go and sell to a production company. And I mean, that's all it would be, bro. We're not talking a big investment here, 20, 30,000, and you could get, a pilot going to sell that. And now you go sell them the season. And I mean, if you got a guy like Devin and Travis to sign on, I think it's sold, bro. Once they see the following and what they got going on. And I mean, guys like Travis and Devin, they'd understand something like that would work, and I think they would, be willing to work it out to make it happen.
well,
It's
that's
just
Yeah,
something
definitely
out there. I
Well,
the
always
then
thought
problem you've
about it.
got is
then the ball is in core sports court, isn't it? Then because they've got the contracts. They're the ones that can do it. No one else can
no.
do it.
Yeah, we could, Dave. We could.
Yeah, I wouldn't give it to that, man. I don't think they're the people that do it, man. You need real, true arm wrestlers, man. Core Sports, they don't give a shit. They'll put on chicken fights if they're gonna make the same money, bro. It's whatever is making them the money. It's not the passion behind it. And I don't think a guy like Engen is the guy that's gonna do that reality show and have it fun. And that's not that guy. We need
Mm.
somebody that's fun, that's willing to do it. And I mean, bro, I think it's a no-brainer, man. I don't see this not working, bro. You know what I mean? If I was still promoting, that's the way I would go about it, man. I'm telling you, if you want to really
See,
get it out there, and it
we
hasn't
had
been tried
something
yet.
similar. We had something similar with the arm wrestling. You know, when they did the season 1, I loved that. You know, that fucking daft thing they did where they were pulling each other in slaughterhouses and all that. I love that. I thought that was awesome. What was it called? That arm wrestling show?
Game of Arms. Game of
Game of
Arms.
I loved it, man. I loved it, and I was really looking forward to seeing Tom Nelson cry again in season 2. And I think a lot of people.
Hold on. I see arm wrestling making moves. Scott wins in here. Say stop the nonsense. What do you mean nonsense, bro? I think that's the way. If you got send Scott a link, man. He should be in on this for sure.
Hang on, isn't Scott the win? Who wanted for come on? Who wants for pulling an arm god show? Someone told me. I mean, fucking else.
That was me.
If you want to pull an arm god show, you better smarten up, old Scott. I'll tell you now because. Honestly, I see with arm wrestling, man. It's like we all have our own way of doing shit, and the way that it moves is not always linear. But I look at your stuff, AWE, and I love what you do, but I don't think it's the way. I've said this to you personally, Anna. I said it before. I don't think it's the way forward. I don't think Nichols up is. I don't think East versus West is. And I'm not saying that we are the way. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we can't be fine tuned and tweaked and made slightly different. I'm sure we could, but you're still not getting the crowds involved, and the crowds get the sponsors. The crowds sell the beers. And the crowd builds the atmosphere. So
I think we're all just doing kind of the same thing that we've been doing though 50 years. I don't see any drastic change, man. It's just like a better production and new arm wrestlers. I mean, what's the difference for what we were doing?
Fight sports haven't changed dramatically over the years. You know, there's only so many camera angles and there's only so many ways of capturing a sport. Telling stories.
That's not true. That's not true. The way that I just told you is how it changed when they
Well,
started
that's how
that
it changed in the
reality.
UFC, but they're still fighting in a cage, aren't they? So, like the format and the way that the
But
fight
the way that
promotion.
they sold it to you, bro, the way they sold it to you was through the reality show, making you engage with these characters. Because if the guys weren't already into watching fight sports, this was a way for to get new people into watching the fight sports, which brought it up
you've
to
got
that
to move
billion-dollar
on. I
industry.
agree.
It's storytelling, and that can be done in any number of ways. You can naturally do a pilot. I mean, that would be awesome. You know, it's a great idea. We try to do that in our way with these little mini documentaries that we'll be rolling out. That's just another way of doing it. Will it be as successful? Probably not. But it is just the way that we're doing it. Is it some part of the formula that might ultimately be successful in launching careers? Maybe. So, you know, I think it's.
But the thing is that's difference between that and a documentary or docu-series, bro, is for a docu-series, I'd have to be an arm wrestler that cared about arm wrestling for me to watch a docu-series. For the show that I'm talking about is you're gonna put this on mainstream TV, bro, and people are gonna be like, oh, what's this? Oh
Yep.
shit, man, it's a bunch of guys in the house. You're gonna see all the drama. What sells, man? What's the biggest selling is the drama. It's when they see a beef between people. When they seen Levon and Devin going at it, everybody in the world cared, even non-arm wrestlers. When me and Nanya, this is on a lot smaller scale, you know, all my non-arm wrestling friends all of a sudden cared about me being in arm wrestling. They're like, who the fuck's he fighting with? You know what I mean? So it's like that sells. So when a non-arm wrestler clicks on that station and he watches 5 minutes and he sees all the craziness with all these crazy arm wrestlers, and I mean, we got some true characters out there that would, bro, you'd see Travis and Devin talking. You're telling me you're gonna change the channel? I don't know anybody on this planet that's gonna. I mean, it's so interesting watching them. Hey, we got
Yeah.
Scott Wynn troublemaker in the house. Him and his pillow fighting league.
What's up, boys? What's up,
bro?
Mr. Maiden?
How you
I'm
doing,
good,
Paul?
bud.
You okay?
I'm good. How
Paul?
you been?
Yeah, good.
Good
Sorry,
to
what's it? Oh, check your phone. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thanks, Scott. I've heard you want a match on Arm Gods. Is this true?
I mean, if you got anybody decent out there that can handle me, yeah, absolutely. I'm from that neck of the woods. Remember?
Is that
From
Bro,
the
it's got to be a
geriatric league?
thumbtack match, though. It's got to be a thumbtack match.
We've
I'll
got
bring
the
a beer
geriatric
can.
league.
I'll bring a beer can.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna be over there at Winter Blast in March next year, so you never know. We might Fucking hell, are them granddad supplements on top of that fridge or what?
Yeah, yep. I'll be 60 soon. Still fucking the baddest, one of the baddest dudes in the world.
Well, we could have a
In the
geriatric
senior
class for you. I
citizen
mean,
home.
we had Ron Bath
Yeah.
and Tim Bresnan.
Geriatrics, Viagra, whatever you got, man, I'll take it.
Well, that could be a new
Well, hey,
hardcore match.
along with
Viagra match.
along with the stack of money too. Don't forget the greenbacks, because I'll be taking those home
hell.
too.
Listen, we're not Paul Italia, you know. We're fucking struggling with coffers and dimes.
Hey guys,
Okay,
I want
now-
to ask you guys this, all you promoters out there. Somebody said about Ian Carnegie. We know that he just came out with the new table and he came out with his new league, the Mac League, and all that. And he went at it a little different way. We know it's different dimensions on the table, and we also know that he started off right in the straps. You know, the shutout downtime and to make the matches speed up and flow better and all. What was your guys' thoughts on that? Do you think that did enough with starting in the straps? Do you think that made it flow better as an arm wrestling event and having more non-arm wrestlers not get bored by doing that?
I think it is one of those things that it's great to see that people are trying different things, because how do you know what's going to work unless you try something? So I love the fact that he came out with a different table design. He's like, I don't know if this is any good, but let's put an event on, we'll find out. And through the event and through having the event, he's like, actually, there was a couple of things I need to change about this table, because people were able to lean their forearm on the side of the slope, and it's like I didn't realize people could do that until we actually had this event. Starting in the straps, it did speed up their matches, flowed really fast. They had quick replays. There was running fouls. The show went from an audience's perspective. It was great to watch it.
Paul, did you get to see that?
Yeah, man. I mean, we partly sponsored the event. We have a good relationship with the Grippler, me and Marcus. We was actually, I mean, my phone is full of all the initial designs of his table. We was talking, 9 months ago. It was on phone for a couple of hours, and we're just throwing ideas around, and he's asking me about what I thought of his tables. And yeah, I even speculated with possibly even using one of his tables at one of our events to try and, just to see if it works. I mean, because the thing is, we're open-minded. We're not blinkered. If someone else has a great idea or we think it warrants it, then by all means we'll take it on board. And the Grippler got let down. It was a shame, really, because he got let down with a big sponsor. I mean, he had a big sponsor, I think, for like $250,000. When we was talking, and they let him down, and obviously it didn't end up being what it was going to be. But overall, yeah, I thought he's got a very good thought process behind it all. His table makes sense, fan friendly. I'm not really keen about the starting in the strap stuff. I think it takes away a lot of the arm wrestling skill. I mean, we're toying with the idea now. We're doing a local event like with the old over the top strap where you put your thumb inside. So we're in midst of building one of these right now. We've got a guy in Pakistan who's trying to sort one out for us. So you put your thumbs in, it wraps around your wrist, more like a weightlifting glove. So
what are we talking about? What are we talking about, though?
A strap, a new strap.
A strap.
That's
No.
using over the top.
My point would be, what are we talking about? Because we're not talking about arm wrestling anymore, right? You're talking about all these different new additions to change what arm wrestling is to make it better. And that's not the problem. You know what I mean? Yeah, we can try all kinds of stuff, just like pillow fighting. I mean, who would ever thought there'd be a pillow fighting league? Somebody said, fuck it, let's just try it. Now it's pillow fighting league. You know what I mean? It's like, are we gonna turn arm wrestling into something different from gripping up like we used to? I mean, old school arm wrestling was, you didn't give the fucking option of a strap. You had to hold on as the referees screamed at you to get a grip, not to fucking slip. There wasn't a professional slip. I mean, this shit's gone way out of hand, and that's what's taken away from the sport. People don't watch it because they can't comprehend the stupidity that's going on up here on these tables. They don't want to watch that shit. It's plain and simple. I mean, seriously, we want to build the sport.
Scott, I don't agree with that, Scott. Because if that's the case, bro, that we wouldn't have made the strap. If guys were holding on, there'd be no reason for to have a strap originally. Obviously, there was a problem that they had to
I'm not
figure out.
saying I'm not saying don't eliminate the strap. I'm not saying that at all. Eliminate saying all straps, all slips go to the straps. That's a fucking option right off the bat. You put that on the rules, you just said it's okay to let go. It's in the rules that you have to fucking hold on. I mean, come on. It's fucking common
Well,
sense.
well, I think so. A lot of sports crystallised in their codes about 100 years ago. Like if you talk about gridiron, rugby, the various forms of football, Australian rules football, soccer, they all codified about 100 years ago. So most people have this concept of that's the parameters, that's how a sport is played. I'll make the example of cricket, which might be a little bit harder for the American audience, but cricket for 150 years was played over 4 or 5 days. Oh, well, and even before Test match cricket began, even longer, you could have a game of cricket that go for 2 weeks. And of course, when the sport started to develop, and more so commercially 100 or so years ago, it became a 5 day game at the international level. Then, about 35 years ago, people stopped going to the 5 day games, or certainly with television rights, it meant that there was less people because of work who were able to go and participate, watch, or attend in person. And they came out with, and because of the effects of, say, sports like football and basketball that really only go for 2.5, 3 hours, the reality was is that the attention span of the audience wasn't willing to spend 5 days on an event in the same way as it might have done 100 or so years ago when there were less sports to watch. And so they made it a 1 day game. So you had everything that used to happen in 5 days happen in 1 day, which meant that you had to limit how many overs a bowler could bowl and things like that. So you had a 1 day game. Well, in the last 15 years, the sport has gone from a 1 day game to the most popular form of the game, the most watched form of the game, happening over 20 overs. Whereas a 1 day game would go over 50 overs, 100 overs. This would be at 40 overs, the whole game's over, done and dusted in 2 hours. So in the space of 100 years, you've gone from a sport that was played over a week to a sport that's played over 2.5 hours. And so I think what arm wrestling is looking for is a formula where the purists still have their 5 day game. You know, the 5 day game is still the pinnacle of the game, but the most watchable version of the game is not the purest form of the game. It's the version of the game that keeps people's attention for that two and a half
David.
hours, and that's where all the money is going into the sport.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Look no further than arm gods. Look, you just described arm gods. So you've just described a winning formula, and not your own business, but mine. That's what you've just done.
Well, not
That's
really,
what you've
because I
done.
think
Yeah,
I don't know
it
if
is.
anybody's going to sit and watch through 14 matches in a row, 14
Yeah,
super
but
matches with
we
the
can
stops
always
and
cut that
stems and
down. Like you
starts.
said, we can make it 6 or 8.
Well, you could, but you don't. So you're not running with that formula.
No,
So,
but we are at Winterblast. We're running short matches at Winterblast. We're trying it there because it's a big international event. So we are.
Well, I mean, we ran. So our last production of event went for 25 minutes, and it was the most watched thing that we've ever done. So
yeah, that's
basically,
great, and I back your stuff. But that's not the thing. You've not explained your formula, because they've all got one thing in common: that what happens in cricket now, it's a fucking piss up with a rowdy crowd. And this is the difference, bro. This is what football, soccer, American football, UFC, boxing, cricket, snooker, darts, what do they all have in common? They've got thousands of people watching them, drinking beer and having fun. So when are people going to realize that you don't need any special magic tricks? It's just having fucking fun and building it around it. Like, you can go on YouTube.
Well, it's about having a novelty, because anybody can put on piss in the background.
No, but they can't, though, can they? That's the thing. They can't.
Can.
But Knuckles Up are not doing it. King of the Table are not doing it. No, East versus West are not doing it. No, who's doing it?
Well, they can't, because they're in Turkey.
You tell me who's doing it.
No, I'm not saying who, but they can do it.
Yeah, but can they? Well, do it then.
I don't think arm wrestling, the presentation of arm wrestling is throw piss at it and it's better.
But bullshit, mate, because the truth is that nobody in the world.
So arm wrestling's like an ugly chick. The more piss you have, the better it gets.
No, but Dave, listen, you've got to understand that you might get 1 million clicks on YouTube, you get $1,000. Okay, how many of them fucking million clicks do you need for pay just one arm wrestler or a flight? I mean, when you're talking about paying a guy flying over and he's costing you $2,000 to fly, you need 2 million clicks to pay his fucking flight.
Well, you can't rely on your ad revenue or your
So what you relying on then as a business?
So
What you relying on?
pay per view. Sorry.
What you relying on then?
Well, then you've got to rely on sponsorship funds, don't you? So, or any other additional forms of income that come through the door. So, you know
This
that's
is the thing. It's the same
and
as
that's the
everybody else.
experimentation in the formula that I was saying about
Yeah, but
earlier.
it's the same as everybody else, and they're not working. It's just not working for anyone. Like I'm not like we have our own bar now, right? So we have our own bar. So you're making thousands of fucking pounds from bar sales. You make it, you get your sale, you get your subscription model. You've got tickets on the door. I mean, whether it be 10 quid or 100 quid, depending on what you're giving. Like when we started God, it's all about making it's self-sustainable. That was our biggest thing, to make it self-sustainable, so we're not rinsing our own pocket or relying on going getting a sponsor from some guy who doesn't like arm wrestling.
Hold on one second, Matt. Put up Captain Obvious's comment. I'm sorry to cut you off. Keep going, Matt. I mean, Paul.
Sorry. So when we're looking at these models, like, I'm not bashing yours or anybody else's. You explain cricket, but you explained our model, right? Because we had 16 matches done in 3 hours a weekend, right? We have different rules, 30 seconds, and then you're in a set grip, and then you're pulling. Yeah, it's not perfect. Of course it's not perfect. But the truth is that we're building entertainment, and we're getting non-arm wrestlers in. Who else is doing that?
My overarching point was that the magic formula hasn't been reached for what 2020 looks like in arm wrestling, or how the sport, as I was mentioned at the top, it hasn't crystallized yet. So if it's a weird table or an unusual, a strap or some kind of technical modification, it's not pure arm wrestling, but it is maybe work. It's an experimentation in the direction of trying to find out what's more watchable and what's going to bring attention, revenue to the sport. So I think there's always going to be a place for the purists, but I also think that the most money is likely not to be sitting with the purists, but with the broader market over time. So whatever money somebody's willing to invest to try and work out what that formula looks like and is willing to experiment, has my full support. I'd love to see more of it.
Yeah.
I want to see more weird tables, more weird straps, more different camera angles, different ways of setting the stage. Whether it's what arm wrestling's better watched from above. So why so many stages up higher, for instance? Why are people watching from side on? Where is somebody going to make a purpose-built arm wrestling arena where it's like a coliseum and everybody's looking downward, because that would make more sense. So
okay, so in other words, baseball would be, we could make like all these different baseball leagues that are all a little bit different, right? Where you don't
they
have a
tried with
glove.
XFL, didn't they? And it wasn't successful in America, but they have tried with XFL.
Well, I'm saying with any sport, you take basketball. So let's take basketball and just change the ball out. We'll make it into a little ball instead and see how good that works. You know what I mean? And then we could try something different to see if that works, instead of just doing.
What we're doing, Scott, what we're doing is we're finding the problems. We're
No,
finding a
you're not.
problem and
No,
fixing
you're
it. And
not. You're making
yes, we
more.
are.
You're making more problems, Paul.
Scott, the
Yeah, you
problem
are.
is, Scott,
Shit,
50 years. Scott, 50 years, we have not figured out how to keep non-arm wrestlers interested in arm wrestling. It's boring. So we are trying to
right.
figure a way to make it less boring. How do we do that? We speed it
Okay.
up. We try making it flow better. We make the rules better so that we're not just stopping for micro fouls and all. Because when you do that, we're losing interest of non-arm wrestlers and they're clicking away. Everybody's got a
That's
short
not why,
attention span.
Paul. That's not why. They're clicking away for the simple reason of the fucked up rules that we do and we don't enforce. That's number one.
Bro, they
Number
don't even know
two,
what the rules are. We haven't even got you. You missed the first part of the show, Scott. I had
okay,
a couple of people I brought over this past weekend to come over that were non-arm wrestlers to watch East versus West. Within 5 minutes of the first match, they were already talking and had no interest in the matches at all. I kept trying to
okay,
bring them back into the arm wrestling. The only match they cared about at all was Travis Bajent. The only reason was because they know he was my friend and they've watched me hang out with him over the years. That was the only one where everybody went silent and everybody was glued to it and they were all into it. Everything else, bro, they didn't even listen long enough to even have a foul or anything. It just, they didn't care, bro. They didn't know who the arm wrestlers were. And because of that, there was no interest.
okay. So you're talking about East versus West, right?
Yes, that's what I was giving an example of what I did this past weekend with non-arm wrestlers.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to say is because I seen that they didn't relate with the characters, so I'm trying to solve a problem. How can I get them more interested? So what I came up with is I think we should do what UFC did with that reality show, where they would put you in the house, they would get you to know the characters, they'd show
Sure.
them training, going about their days of life, all the drama in the house, because you know arm wrestlers are fucking crazy and they're gonna start fighting with each other. Then these people that are non-arm wrestlers all of a sudden care because they know the characters, they've already associated with who they like, who they don't like, and now it's their vested interest. So that's where I'm going with it, man. I'm just
I
trying
like
to
that.
solve
I,
problems.
I like that. We've already talked about that whole scenario. The exact same thing.
But
People
what
live
I'm
in the
trying to
fucking.
say is
It's all. It's like Big Brother.
we're trying to solve the problems, brother. We're trying to solve. So what I'm trying to figure out is what do non-arm wrestlers not like that is making them flip the switch, and that's what we're talking about tonight. That's
Okay.
all we're trying to figure out.
And
Okay.
I don't think there's been a traditional sport that's really had to have this discussion because almost all of the popular sports were codified a long time ago. They had their associations in place, they had their rules in place, and they've been working from that base. Arm wrestling's still in this very much this state of flux in that regard, and so there is an opportunity there for people to reimagine how the sport may be presented to the wider public. And Paul's idea there is you need storytelling, you need people to be vested into personalities. These personalities need to be the ones that are driving attention. People aren't necessarily interested in a sport, they're interested in the people behind the sport. If they don't already love a team, it's the same. People love their team first and then they love the best guy in their team when it comes
Exactly.
to a sport, and that guy, if he goes and plays for the opposition, he's not the favorite anymore. But it's different in arm wrestling, and it's different in individual pursuits like tennis and golf. You go with the personality, and it won't matter where that personality competes. So Travis Bajent can compete on any promotion in the world. People are going to be interested in Travis Bajent. So it gives opportunity
Well,
and
Paul,
rise for
Paul had
promotion.
mentioned, Paul had mentioned Game of Arms, right? Great show. We all fucking loved it, especially arm wrestlers, right? It was a great show, but they depicted us as kind of barbaric, right? Meeting in empty warehouses, slaughterhouses, on piers, on docks, anywhere that we could scrounge up a place to have these matches. Which
Paul
the
would have his meeting in
cinematography
pubs.
made the show, right? The cinematography definitely made the show. The narration made the show, and the storyline made the show. It was a great show. The only thing was is that it wasn't what we really do. We don't meet up in warehouses. We don't bring beer and alcohol and little babies in our arms and shake around money in our hands betting.
Well,
It
Scott,
made for a
the thing that I think they went wrong with that is they didn't do it on a character base. They went on a team based. So a couple of the characters stuck out from each team, and then you didn't even
no,
know who the other guys on the team were. So
no.
I
I think
think
the
they did.
teams I think was smart because that
No,
did get a
no, no.
following.
Listen, the season three that they were doing, they were revamping it and they were getting rid of all the teams and they were just going after characters in arm wrestling because they seen where they went wrong with that first one. Because we had a bunch of guys on there that were on the show, bro. And I don't even know their names still. They were boring as hell. It's like, I don't want to mention names and, kind of talk shit, but there was a bunch of guys on there where I just scratched my head that made no sense of additions on that. You could have took 5
Right.
guys
Well,
from that whole thing and made the whole show at that, and it would have been so much better. And I think they
that whole
realized that.
show, yeah, the whole show was scrapped together. You know what I mean? They made teams in a wing of a moment. Like they didn't really do much research. They just put teams together. They figured certain people, certain characters, and
But
again, like you said,
you could take Mike Aiello, you could take Don Underwood, you could take Travis Bazin, and maybe like one or two other guys, bro, and make that show over, and it'd been 10 times better, and get rid of all those other guys that were just, I don't even
no.
remember their names, that were kind of non-existent on there.
Yeah, see, I
Just their
disagree just
characters.
because the fact this is what they always do, Paul. UAL, Robert Drink tried to do the exact same thing. He thought, look, if I get this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy, that's all I need. He was wrong. Marvin did the same thing. He thought he could pick all the big names and make a show out of it. It doesn't work that way. You need a team following, like I forget the other gentleman's name. I can't see his name
So
right
then
now.
how is Devin, bro? Devin. Because that's the only guy that sells any event in arm wrestling, bro.
Yeah. Well, Devin's on his own. Devin's
But
on
but
his
but that's what
own.
I'm saying, man. It's the character, bro. His
That's
character is big
Paul.
enough.
There's
He
what? Let's just say there's a dozen guys that are like Devin, but if they're not promoting the sport in the right way, they're only promoting for themselves. Devin
Yeah, but
only
by them
cares
promoting
about
themselves
himself.
is by them promoting themselves is making the sport grow, bro. Devin has literally took our sport on his back and is the man doing it.
You're
Before
wrong.
Devin,
No,
it was
bro.
Travis.
No,
Before Devin, it was
you're
Travis.
wrong.
Here's another one that I'll back it up. I
No.
guarantee East versus West is not making profitable money on any event they throw without Devin on it. I bet you that.
Oh, I think it makes a big difference. That's why he's there. That's why his son's there. That's why the only people that are there are people that have a social media following. It doesn't matter how good you are. It's how big your social media is. You know that.
Well, yeah,
That's what
because
all that.
it's bro. And how do you come big in social media? By being somebody that people want to watch. So yes, that's the formula, bro. But it's the character is the
Sure.
driving force that is making people want to watch that guy, which in turn makes them want to pay for that event. Because if
A
Devin's not
dozen
on the
people.
event, I bet you
A
none of the
dozen.
non-arm wrestlers are buying that event. But if Devin is on that event, I bet you a lot of non-arm wrestlers are buying the event.
I don't know, bro. I don't think so. But
I'd
I
like
mean,
to see
like I said,
analytics on that. I'd like to see
huh?
analytics on how many people buy it because of Devon. I'd love to see his own link just to find out. I mean, obviously he's going to make a difference. Of course he is, because he's got 1 million subscribers. But how many of those 1 million subscribers are buying into watching him arm wrestle and his 17-minute setups? No, I don't know. I mean, the truth is this: Devon's been a pioneer of arm wrestling, probably the biggest pioneer we've got, along with Levin. Let's not argue the fact he's been a godsend for arm wrestling in a way. To a lot of guys say, "Oh, I know that guy, Devon Lorette. I've seen him arm wrestle." We've all heard it in airports and shops, and when people have spoke about it. He's a pioneer. Whether
And
or
who
not
was
he's
before him?
Yeah,
Before him was
there
Travis
is an
Bajan.
element of truth.
well,
There is
not
an element
really,
of
Paul.
truth.
No, not Travis. Travis never made it on a global scale. Travis died at the wrong time. I remember when Travis got, like, he had about 20,000 subs, 16,000 subs on YouTube, realized he was making next to fuck all. And
No, bro. He didn't, bro. No. He didn't know anything about. I was the one that got him to start YouTube, and he still to this day doesn't want to do YouTube because he's not really making money. But what I'm
oh
saying
yeah,
is,
100%. So,
before
the world
Devin,
knew Travis.
but
The
but
world didn't
before
know Travis.
Devin, but before Devin, if you said arm wrestling, the guy that they would say right away was Travis Bajan.
But yeah, but no one ever come to me and said in a shop or an airport, "I know Travis Bajan." Nobody. It was
Because
always
he
Devin.
stopped arm wrestling, but before Devin, Travis was that guy, bro. 10 years ago,
Yeah,
you said arm wrestling, the first word they say, oh, the beast, Travis Bajan.
yeah, the mouth of the south or whatever. Yeah, Travis. I mean, me and Travis go back a long way. Like, we've had lots of fun together going back in day. But he never had the social media platforms and stuff like that to put him into that world. Now, if anyone would have made it, I would have thought it was going to be Travis. But he hasn't really pushed it. So Devon's the man, and none of us can argue. But the thing is, you invest in people. I do agree with that. You do invest into a person, but what they can actually bring to an event, I don't know, and I think that still revolves around the masses. And it's when you've got such power, you need to like bring in to people to the events. So if you want to get people involved, everyone's trying to do it through the internet. But yeah, that's the biggest outreach, of course it is. But how about starting at little acorns before big trees grow, and actually getting your aunties, uncles, and your family and your friends and your old school pals and your workmates, and how's about getting all them? So next time you do your AWE event, you've got the best camera angles, they're amazing. You've got a good bio building all your people up. How about just giving away, because maybe 500 free tickets for see who comes to your event, book a place out, put it in a certain way, and get people cheering and watching. Give all the family and friends tickets in your local area or whatever you're doing. Blanket the area with garages and fucking pubs and all that sort of shit, and see what happens there. Because the truth is, if you're not overly asked about the format you're doing, let's say you're testing the waters, why don't you get yourself a proper audience in there, even if you give away the tickets, and then people might buy into you, and not only will they buy into you watching your event, they might buy into watching it on YouTube and watching all your other stuff and pushing that up. Because the truth is, we're nothing without an audience. Like, what would soccer be without people watching it? Without 80,000 fans, what would it be? It'd be nothing. It'd be nothing.
Or did
There was
this
a
comment
comment in there from
that says
was
that US Liberty Never Forget says that he was visiting Africa. The only arm wrestling name that they knew was Neil Pickup.
And then there was another comment that from SA, and he says any elite puller will draw people. To that comment, I say that's not true, brother. And if you run a YouTube channel, you'll find out very quickly when you throw interviews with different arm wrestlers who draws the crowd and who does not. A lot of guys that you think would, elite legend arm wrestlers, any arm wrestler knows them as a legend, but when it comes to drawing views, they don't get views at all. You know, you know the guys that draw views. Now, you put anything with Devin Lorette, Travis Bajan on your thumbnail or anything, you're gonna get more views than you've ever got before. But you'll know real quick, man. Not every elite puller does not bring in the views, and that is for sure.
I agree, though. I mean, we look at all our analytics of, through website and different stuff, and we can see obviously which countries watched, how many people in the countries have watched, and you look at it and you think, fucking hell, you thought, well, they'd have supported this guy, and you soon realize that you've just paid maybe whatever you paid for this fella, but he's just lost your money, just lost you a lot of money, and not what you might have thought you would have got, and that's just lesson learned. And I think that's the way that we are with our subscription model. That we're not making a million quid, a million quid clearly, but what we are doing is we're getting that recurring revenue each and every month. We've got a recurring model, and that helps. And what you find is when your people buy into you, and they buy into your promotion and what you're doing, that they stick with you and they're not cancelling every month, and they realise that you're building together. And for the sake of a fiver, what is what most people pay us each month, then you don't really miss it, do you? When someone's when your pay-per-views are getting down to $24 now, or $18, $19, $20, and they started at $9. I appreciate that you're getting more pullers on the better pullers, you've got to pay a bit more money. But when it starts doubling, where's pay-per-views going to end up? I mean, I know in America you don't mind paying it, like ESPN and stuff like that. You was paying $100 for your boxing, where in UK, nobody in the memory of man would ever pay that, and that's why something like DAZN is taking over, and you're paying $9.99 a month now, or something like that, and that's what people want, value for the money, but they've got the subscription model. So if you look at things like DAZN and a lot of the other things, the subscription model over the long period is possibly the most sustainable one.
Boom, you just said it right there. You just summed it all up.
That's Scott's League right there. Scott's League theory right there.
So Paul, let me ask you, Paul Maiden, I don't know if
Yeah,
you guys if you're hip to this or not, because this can be done in your country as well. You're wherever you live, wherever your city is, however you want to do it. Bottom line is we have a membership league. We all join a membership league, all of us. Nobody's giving up their association. Nobody's giving up their armed gods. Nobody's giving up any of their leagues. They're just joining into a bigger membership that makes us this big conglomerate group of people that are looked at as a membership league where we have 3,000 strong, 5,000 strong, 10,000 strong worldwide. Now we got sponsorships that are looking at us going, wow, these guys actually are like a big entity. They're a big unit. Now we're being looked at a lot differently than 500 different organizations trying to outdo one another, trying to make money, trying to put arm wrestling on the map, hopefully. But meanwhile, if we don't organize something all together as pullers, as I want to call it, as the Pullers League, then we're never going to be able to establish anything outside of ourselves. We're always going to be this small little niche where we don't matter because we only know of each other because nobody's going outside the box to draw more people in. And the
Yo,
way
put
we're going to
Captain
get
Obvious comment on there. Keep going, Scott. I'm sorry, but put that on there. Funny.
my point being now when every state has teams and now these teams start competing against each other and country teams come in from different countries to compete against other teams as you said it earlier, again I can't see the names, but when you have a team that's playing that's from your city, they get the women, the kids, everybody's voting for the Cowboys because that's their team. They don't even know how to play football. Most women don't know about football, but they're there at that party. Like Paul said, they're drinking, music's playing, they're having a great time because they're cheering for their team. That's how we get a fan base. We're never going to get a fan base now because as you said, Paul, the elite are only known to certain people. And there's only so many elite guys because that's how we look at it. And we keep using the same mofos as our elite guys. They're the Michael Todds, Travis Bajan, Devin Lorette. And what are they teaching us as a sport? What they want, not what's good for the
But the
sport.
thing is, Scott, is everybody else is fucking boring. You put on a bunch of these other guys on there, and they're
Oh,
just boring.
okay. That's the problem with the format. It's not the arm wrestling.
But
That's the
no, no, hold on,
format.
hold on. I want to give you an example of that right now. The East. All those East guys with their respect and all that shit, no shit talking, those guys are fucking boring. That match between a Rockley and Prudnick, bro, I just don't care.
Yeah, but
Like
Prudnick
they
doesn't need to do any of that. With all he had to do was all we got to do is see video of him singing. He's going to
so
draw fucking
that's
all
what I
kinds
mean,
of
bro.
people.
It's like you gotta have guys that are interesting guys. There's so many
Everybody's
fucking
hey,
boring
dude.
people out there.
Everybody's interesting. You just got to look at it from a different angle. The format, yes, the format has
Scott,
to be done.
you need to go work YouTube for a year, bro, and you'll learn real quick everybody ain't interesting, bro. Go waste your time interviewing a boring ass dude for an hour, then get 50
I
fucking
don't. Yeah,
views,
well, that's
and
why
you'll
I
learn
don't
real
care.
quick that everybody's
Yeah,
not
well, I don't
interested.
care. I don't care about YouTube though. That's what I'm
But
saying.
that's where you need to start caring because that is your sample size, bro. That's gonna tell you if somebody's gonna sell. Yes, it is.
It it
Yes,
it
it
it'll help.
is.
If you
I'm not going to say it. It's not going to help.
if
I'm not
Bro,
saying that at all.
if
it's
you're
everything with people clicking the like button, man, for people tuning in. They don't want to
Paul,
watch boring people.
Devin takes a picture of his nose. We already said this, and he gets a fucking 1,000 likes within a minute. What does
You
that
know why,
mean?
bro? You know why?
What?
Because he's an
Why?
interesting guy, and 1,000 posts before that, he got all those people, those million people following him. So when he did show his nose, they did care to see because they already knew who he was.
yeah
But if you go
yeah
and
That's
take
if
called
some
you're if
other legend
that's
in
called
our
the
sport,
fanatic. That's not a fan. That's called the fanatic. That's a
yeah,
if
but
you
sheep.
bro,
it
That's a sheep.
it
you're
doesn't
not
matter
getting it,
if you're
bro.
an arm wrestling promoter or if you're a producer for a movie. What you're looking for is your best chance of a rate of return on your money on that event. and it's undeniable that the bigger the names, the bigger the social media, there is a correlation between social media following, profile presence, and the amount of people that are going to watch that event. There's a direct correlation. There's a direct correlation between somebody's following and then how many are going to watch that person on somebody else's podcast. There's a direct correlation. So if you're a movie producer and you've got two actors that are pretty good that are competing for the role, but one's got 5 million followers and the other one's got 500 followers, well, it's a no-brainer. You're going to go with the person who's most likely going to sell the most tickets to go to that movie, and it is the same in arm wrestling. But ultimately, although we've spoken about the arm wrestling promotions largely being charities, the reality is that at some point somebody would like it to be profitable, and the easiest way to make sure that you can get to the next event is to make sure that you've got eyeballs glued on your event, and the easiest way to guarantee that is by the followership of the people that you got on your card. So, and if those people aren't interesting, then the chances are no one's going to care. No one's
Oh,
going to care.
Can I
No one's
just
going to watch your event.
Strength Old School just put out a comment. Can you please put that up there? So he said that to be honest, a fan of arm wrestling, Todd Zilla and John Brzenk don't shit talk, and I find those two very exciting to watch. I like Devin, but his shit talk has become boring to watch now. So just so you got a good example, Strength Old School. John Brzenk is the GOAT of our sport, bro. That is, every arm wrestler knows how important that guy he is in arm wrestling god. Now, you take him into YouTube world and you go and click non-arm wrestlers have click on, or you have him on your show, they don't care. They don't click the button. You go and put Travis on, everybody clicks that button and likes it. I've did this before, bro. I've had individual ones. I know which ones attract, which ones don't. So John Brzenk is not that guy, bro. He is not bringing in massive eyes. But us arm wrestlers would think it would. He's not that guy. He's not an
Paul,
interesting
Paul,
guy to
let, Paul,
non-arm wrestlers.
let me ask you something. How much do you think, like, how much ego do you think is involved with arm wrestlers? Like, if you had
Everything.
a
oh,
scale from 1 to 100,
101. Bro,
right?
ego,
Right.
crazy
So
egos.
arm wrestlers don't support one another. They don't back one another. That's a big downfall with this sport. It's funny because we talk about the camaraderie. Like when I last time I seen Paul Maiden was in Turkey, I think,
Well,
right?
Scott, what you're saying right now is not true. Considering I came into this sport, bro, trying to help everybody else out. We are on my show on Matt Conley's channel right now, bro. There is people that come into this sport officially trying to grow arm wrestling and not trying to be on an ego, trying to be the top guy, not trying to be the most popular guy. They just want to help arm wrestling grow, bro. And you're looking at them right here, bro. I did it from day one since I came into this sport.
Well, you know as well as I did. We talked all about that, bro. We talked all about that, and you're coming to circumstances, and you're seeing exactly what I was talking about. And here we are, what 4 years later, still talking about the same thing. You've grown your channel. You've done what you said you wanted to do, right? You wanted to make a name for yourself. You wanted to help out arm wrestling. And you wanted to be a promoter, and you wanted to be an arm wrestler. You've done all of that. Ryan Bowen, another good example, right? Ryan comes in, little skinny 176er. He challenges Justin Bishop, gets his ass handed to him. Then he keeps putting himself up on the fence. Knock me down, but he keeps proving himself over and over again. This guy, Ryan Bowen's a joke. Oh, well, shit, he just won again. Fuck, he just proved himself again. He kept putting himself up there, and he kept proving himself. And now look at him, right? Now he's this big, I don't want to call him elite, but he's one of the biggest known names in arm wrestling for
He's a
Australia.
two-faced shithouse. That's what he is. An absolute two-faced shithouse.
I won't deny that because he pulled some shit on me too from the get-go.
No,
The
he's not
same
pulled
thing
off
we're
on me.
talking about now, he turned around and did on his own. So he was on the
He's a
same page,
shithouse.
but decided, nah, you know what? I can do this myself for
He's a
myself.
shithouse. An absolute shithouse, that fella. Listen, I'll tell you about that Ryan Bowen. Right? When the world was against him, I fucking stood up for him. I was making poems for him, looking after him, stroking his fucking ginger wig, the lot. And then next minute, you turn around and he's like that. Oh, Mr. Engen. Oh, Mr. Neil. That guy is the most two-faced fucking shithouse I've ever met in all my life. Like, talk about an absolute fucking weasel. Well, that's Ryan Bowen, right? So
Can you put Strength Old School comment up there again?
You
Can you
forgot
put
these
Strength Old
Australian
School?
guys are on here.
Well, it's not been my experience, Ryan, but I will say that there's been some pretty significant things that have happened for Ryan during that period of time, and there's a very good explanation for why there'd been a change of heart and how Ryan confronted the world, and it's not for me to say what that is, but I'm sure when the time's right, he'll share with everybody what brought him to that moment. But
what brought him to Xerxes' knees? Is that what you're saying? What brought him to his knees to give out the fucking gobble? That's what it did. Listen, end of the day, you can't go
that's
around the world and have arguments with Engin, have arguments with Neil, having wives sending text messages and all the other bullshit around the world, right? And then being fucking outcast like some piece of shit. And then your event suffered because of it. AWE suffered because of it. And then suddenly, oh, hang on, everything's okay now. My best mate. No, there's no making that right. There's no making that right whatsoever. End of the day, he did it for one reason: personal endeavor. This, that, and the other, and that's it. He showed his true colours. He's not a man of
well, I
integrity.
think he did it for other reasons, and the flip side is that it's worked out better
Bullshit.
for him.
Bullshit. You
So,
can say what you want.
well, I know what the reasons are,
I
and
don't care.
I'll wholeheartedly say the flow and effect of him making that determination and making that reconciliation has worked out for the best.
Maybe it's worked
And
out for the
so
best. But what about integrity as a man?
regardless of what I felt about and what outsiders might have perceived of that situation, Ryan was willing to weather that storm because he felt what he was doing was right, and then I guess the flow on effect is that maybe it was right. I have necessarily agreed with that in some respects. I don't know, but it was, he came about that determination in a very in a way that I think Ryan would best describe. It's not for me to say, but it's not as is characterised on the podcast.
No,
So,
but
I
listen,
just wanted to
when you have
highlight
public
this comment.
argument,
Yeah, sorry,
when you have
Paul.
public arguments like that, and then you're going at each other on a massive personal level. And I was at Armwars when Neil and Ryan had a fallout, and Ryan openly said, "Oh, I feel like smacking Neil in the face and all this bullshit." And then they fall out, and then Neil Pickup's giving all this ostracizing Ryan Bowen, like
yeah,
fucking destroying him
yeah,
to every Tom, Dick, and Harry, every person he could do. Ryan Bowen will never get an opportunity with this, that, and
yeah,
the other. It just
yeah.
shows you how corrupt arm wrestling is when they're all back in each other's fucking pocket, and it shows you how much integrity as a man that all these people have, and it just because they all want to be at that top echelon of the sport in one way or another, and
Look,
that's how it is.
I don't know too many families get along really well. You get more than 4 or 5 siblings in a room. A couple of them going to have a falling out, and not want to talk to each other at Christmas over the Christmas table.
Bollocks. Yeah, we're not talking
You
about
get to mum
siblings,
and
Dave.
dad's funeral. You get to mum and dad's funeral, and somebody doesn't turn up because of something that was said 15 years earlier. But at the end of the day, there's so few people in that family that you can't avoid each other forever.
Well,
And
this is even
and
worse, man. This family is all testosterone with a bunch of egos, baby. So it gets
and all
even more
fucking
extreme.
yeah, exactly.
You said
Yeah,
it.
yes. So
That
it's
that 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 was my next question. So, how much integrity do you think is in arm wrestling? From 1 to
Yeah,
100?
well, I
Huh?
think at the same level of
very
integrity you'll
low,
find
bro.
when that's the same level of integrity you'll find whenever you get X amount of men in the room. So yeah,
No,
and so
yeah, but listen,
in other words,
right, but
if you have a room and there's 5 of us in the room, there's going to be a high level of integrity because we can't avoid each other. But if you have 50 people in a bigger room, you're going to find that it's going to be different, where people can be a bit squirrely, where they can avoid each other, where it gives rise to greater conflict and factions start to form. As a matter of fact, there's several books on the subject. Once you get over about a dozen people in a business, for instance, and Paul will be able to say this, things get funny. When it gets over 2 dozen, things go a little bit crazy. And a lot of businesses never grow beyond that for that
right.
very reason. So if you've got a
Now you
community
got
that,
five.
Let
Now
me
you
touch
got
on that real
500
quick.
promoters,
yeah,
Hold on. Let me touch on that. When I
right?
first
Like you're
got
just
in, when I
saying.
first opened, When I first opened my dispensary in Colorado, there was 8 of us that went in together. 8 guys that thought they were the leader. Do you understand what shit show that was? Everybody had their own
Yeah.
vision. Everybody had their own ego. It lasted a year and a half, and then I was out. I was out to California and on to my next business because I seen where. So I agree with that. When you have a bunch of heads coming in with egos and all, things can clash.
Well,
And as
you
far
got
as with
over 500
integrity,
promoters. You got over
yeah, and I mean,
500 promoters.
Mm-hmm.
yep.
You know
Yep.
what I'm saying?
And just like
That's my
just
point.
like I was saying earlier, man, this is not a sport that's known for its money. So like when you have a big money sport, you're having the best of the best go for that sport. We're not that, man. If you're looking at us in the sports, we're kind of in the dumpster diving, man. We're at the bottom of that, and now we're all coming together, and everybody wants to be Dana White. Everybody wants to be the king of the arm wrestling world. So that's kind of what you're dealing with,
Well,
So yeah.
you got to remember, so you can make money at arm wrestling. If I threw a tournament and I get 300 entries at $50 a head on one Saturday, I can make a shitload of money for myself and pay my referees and my staff and still walk out of there with probably 3 grand in my pocket on a day's 6 hours.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not, but it's not six
That's
hours, is
part of
it?
the
It's
integrity.
weeks.
That that's part of the integrity. I'm sorry.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
go ahead.
But it's not 6 hours. It's weeks in the organising and the putting together. And to be honest, there's easier ways of making 3 grand. So,
Nah, I don't know about that. I mean, 3 grand on a weekend on a Saturday. I mean, all you got to do is promote it. If once you got it down pat, it's just a matter of posting dates. You know what I mean? People show up.
I made that on OnlyFans, Scott, yesterday afternoon.
Huh? Have I started drinking yet? Is that what you're
I mean
asking?
the formula. I mean the formula you speak of, Scott. That's the Travis Bajan special right there. That's
A hundred
Money for
percent.
Denise right there. Same thing.
Well, Travis is honest about it. He says, I'm not telling you anything other than I am there for your money, and that's what he's there for. That's what most of these promoters, not all, but most of these promoters are trying to make a dime. That's it.
Don't,
That's what they're in
right,
it for.
let me
They're
tell
not
you.
trying to. And there's nothing going to stop that from ever happening. That's all good and dandy. Let that keep going. But we're never going to go to the next level
But
until
but
we
but
join.
Well, Scott, back to what you just said, that original thing, because there is something wrong with that. You said any weekend you could go and throw a tournament with 300 people and walk away with your 3,000. That is no longer true these days. Why? Because you have so many promoters throwing so many events right next to each other. So
No,
unless
but
you are throwing, hold on,
we already
Scott,
established,
hold on, hold on,
you got 300.
Scott,
I'm just saying though,
Scott,
you already gave,
hold on. You're not getting 300 people, bro,
well,
unless you
we
throw a
didn't say
super match.
that though. We weren't,
Just
we were,
listen to me.
you're
Just hear me
changing
out,
the
bro.
story.
To get the 300 people, bro, you would need to throw a super match. You would have to start paying big super matches to get 300 people these days. Why? Because one week we have an event going before yours. 2 weeks after is another event. So now everybody's got all different events to choose from within the same area. So instead of getting 300 these days, you're lucky you get 40, 50. That's the
Right
difference,
back to
bro.
point number 2. There's 500 promoters, right? That's the problem, right? You've got too many fucking guys that are trying to be chiefs and not enough Indians to play in all their areas when there really is more than enough. They just don't know about these playgrounds in their areas because only arm wrestlers do.
yeah,
Right.
well,
It's
through that collectivist effort of getting everybody together to run an event, one, it's like herding cats. And once you do that, what's the governance structure? Who runs that? Then you get the egos at that level. When it's a matter of everybody joining, I can't ever envisage something like that happening harmoniously, especially when everybody's coming to it from different perspectives. Who runs what? Who decides what rules? What size tables? It'd be a shit fight of conflict over the
Yeah.
fullness of
Agreed.
time, even if everybody started off. And that's in part why you do have 500 promoters, because everybody is out there trying to work out what it is that's going to work. What's that? I do firmly believe that you don't get involved in arm wrestling promotion for the money. It's because you're doing it to grow the sport in your little backyard, your little neck of the woods, and then you might get a little bit ambitious and you feel, look, maybe my backyard isn't enough. Maybe I've got a formula that's successful enough. I can go into somebody else's backyard and I can grow. And if that growth is supported commercially, then maybe you do have the winning formula. Maybe if you do end up taking over and you do end up becoming the WWE of wrestling, of arm wrestling, and you end up taking over everybody's territories because you've got the magic formula, you've got the big names, you've got the storylines that people care about, then you're going to be the winner, and deservedly so, and it's done in merit. But to chuck everybody together and expect them to work harmoniously together is unfortunately a utopian desire that I feel will only fall short in reality. And so it's only going to be a merit based. It's only going to be a merit based system that ultimately works. And I think that's as I said at the top, that's the really exciting thing at the moment. Everybody's giving it a crack. Weird tables and different rule sets, different formats, different environments.
Yeah,
It's all
I'm
pointing in
not
the
even sure.
direction.
I'm not sure what you're talking about as far as WWE, because that's not at all what this is about. The membership league is about a league that we join as members. So we all belong to the same membership, to the same organization. That organization isn't throwing tournaments. The membership money goes back out to payouts to other organizations that are qualified to throw tournaments, like Arm Gods. If Arm Gods follows basic rules, they use referees that are certified, that are wearing referee shirts. These are the qualifications for that money to be given to those organizations. You
Yeah.
follow me? So
Yeah,
it's
so if
not.
people
It's
follow your idea as to what an event should look like, then they might get some money
No,
out of
it's
your
not. It's
union.
not following my idea. It's following certain
Well,
guidelines. We
the
all
got
vote as members. Everybody will have a right to vote as a member whenever there's any type of controversy or if
whenever
there's
you
a
got a
rule
vote, you got
change.
factions. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
whenever you
Scott,
get a
I
vote,
don't
you
want to
get
be involved.
factions, and if people
Sorry,
are
go on.
making and if people aren't making a considerable financial, in other words, if you've got a bunch of people spending $50 a year that all want to say, you've got a failure of an organisation from the get go. That's
I'll
just
tell you now, right? If
it,
you think that you're going to get Neil Pickup bowing down to anybody else, one of the most influential men in the sport, if you think you're going to get him signing up to what you want to do, you've no chance. Because if Neil Pickup doesn't fucking tell you what day of week it is, Neil will tell you it's Friday, even if it's Tuesday, and he's right. So you're never going to be able to work with that. Every memory of man. And
Well,
there's other guys
we
like
don't
that as
need
well.
I've got to bow out,
yeah,
guys, but thank you very much. God
Thanks,
bless.
we
mate.
don't
Yeah,
need
have a
Neil.
good evening.
Yeah,
Get it,
yeah.
brother.
It's not a matter of
Well,
needing
at the end of
Neil.
the day,
Not that I wouldn't say we wouldn't want him, but I'm saying Neil can continue on doing what he does. Everybody, you can keep doing arm gods, and the other guy can keep coming up with his ideas of changing the sport and coming up with a new gimmick and a new strap. And all of a sudden now we're hooking legs underneath the table too, because that excites people. So let's make arm wrestling like that. You know what I
I'll
mean?
tell
You
you
can
what, we
keep
can get
doing that.
million views.
Sorry
We
to
get
call you.
millions of views now. One way. What you do, right? You get two women arm wrestling with the tits out, right? And it gets millions and millions of views. And then you've got one guy underneath licking her out, giving her a good munch, right? And you get 10 million views. And then what you find out is, right, there's a perverted arm wrestling league, and you fuck them on the peg, and that gets another 100 million views. And if you think I'm wrong, I'm not, because that's going to be more popular than our sport. I
You're
guarantee you
not.
now.
You're
It
not
is.
wrong. You're not
Yeah,
wrong.
I'm
That's a
right.
normal
No,
Saturday night for you,
but,
isn't it, Bob?
but
It wouldn't be arm wrestling. It wouldn't be arm wrestling anymore. But yes,
yeah,
100,000
but it
views,
is because
a million
arm
views.
gods, arm gods next year in the UK, we can't do it in America, we've already checked. Next year are doing the first topless arm wrestling match. And that's out there now, so you know, guys. The first
Wow.
women's topless arm wrestling match. So not only have we done a thumbtack match and we've got the electricity table coming out, next year we're doing a fucking booby dooby match on OnlyFans on the Arm Gods account.
Who's going to be in it? Do you know?
Well, hopefully not my wife.
No.
Paul, we can't hear you,
If you're
Paul.
not,
Paul, we
you're
can't
gonna
hear
need
you.
volunteers.
Paul, I tell you, if you can hear us, we can't hear you speaking, man. We can't hear you talking. Your mic's gone off or something.
Yeah, he must have muted it.
We rolled a fatty.
Oh, he's gone. He actually gave
Yeah,
me.
go back.
I'm sure he'll be back in a
You know,
second.
end of the day, guys. There's. I don't think there's a secret formula. I think we're all doing what we're all doing is putting the pieces to the puzzle in our own individual way. And we're all going to be slightly biased in our own thought process, me included, of course. But I do always bring it back to having an arm wrestling crowd, and I think we need paying people. We need paying people. I mean, let's think, right? Like if you get to if you get to a boxing event and you go there and there's tickets for sale for 40 quid or $40, $50, $100, $200, right? Now, one seated ticket in an arena, one seated ticket for $100 is 10 pay-per-views. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you get a room of just 100 people, that's 1,000 pay-per-views straight away. Okay, that's the equivalent. Now, you've got to look at it in that manner deep down. You've got to get the people in the room, and then you've got to look, how do we get the people in the room? And that's the key. We have to create entertainment, because entertainment is key to everything. And that's the way forward. I promise you, you can have whatever channel you want, but unless you're making and getting hundreds, I mean, we're talking 20, 30 million views on your videos, you're not really making anything. And that's the truth. You're making $1,000 per 1 million, say 1 million views or something stupid like that, and you're not even scraping the barrel of what you can get back. It's the people in the room. You make your own bar, so you profit from the bar, you profit from the food, you profit from your merchandise selling, you profit from the people paying to come in, you profit from your subscription model, you profit from your pay-per-view or whatever you go. You give yourself multiple revenue opportunities to become self-sustainable. And that's what wrestling's always suffered with, self-sustainability. That is it. Nothing else. Promoters drop out because it's not worth doing. People like multimillionaires, Robert Drenk, Steve Kaplan, you realise you're flogging a dead horse. Okay, to put out hundreds of thousands of pounds, you're flogging a dead horse.
But Paul, look, listen. If Robert Drink would have done what I'm talking about, and I tried to talk to Robert about this very same idea, and he told me straight out. He says, "I already got it covered, bro. I already got Michael Todd. I already got Berzink. I already got Travis. I already got all these people signed up." If Robert would have said, "Hey, my league's a membership league only. You have to join my league by paying $120 a year," you think that everybody would have joined it? 100%. Everybody signed the contract when he said he had a TV show. You couldn't even get in his building because everybody was trying to sign up. He could have done the same thing. Why? Because he already had the capital. He had the money for the big tournaments. He already had the glitz and glamour. He put on the best events. He had the money to give away. We would have all paid $120 to be in his league. I fucking guarantee you that. You know that for a fact. This is the same thing. We're self-sustainable only through ourselves. We have to have a Pullers League. Once we do that, we can bring sponsors in. Until we do that, bro, it's going to be the same roller coaster. Nothing's changed in 40 freaking years. You know what I mean? We had it on TV. We had it on Wild World of Sports. We've had it on ESPN, ABC, CBS. We've had it on all the big networks. It wasn't sustainable because it didn't bring enough draw at the time. Now, Wild World of Sports lasted for 10 years. It was the biggest draw, was World Wrist Wrestling. Everybody wanted to watch that. Even as crazy as wrist wrestling was, where you could use both hands and your chin, people were watching it. You know what I mean? But they had their rules, and those were the rules. Then it little by little became a little bit more, structured and standard, where you couldn't touch your face to any part of your body, or your chin, your shoulder couldn't touch. They stopped doing in between. They put a peg on the table. They changed the pads. There's been those few modifications, but the rules have always been the problem. When we allow these rules, all these stupid things to happen with the straight arm underneath the table, what you were saying earlier with the characters, that's key. That's 100% key. You have to mic up these guys. You have to mic up the referee. You have to have like Polarville. You know what, you've heard of Polarville, right? The video channel, they got videos, Polarville.
Yeah.
Well, if you haven't seen it yet, Matt, you should look it up, because
I know what you mean by Polarville. Yeah.
he knew how to film. He knew how to film arm wrestling. He captured what was going on the table, and people liked it and they watched it. Music, right? Just like Miami Vice. Remember the show Miami Vice?
Yeah.
The music made the show. The music made it. The cinematography made the show.
It did for you. It did for you back then, because you're a fucking dinosaur. Like this is the
okay,
thing,
Friends. Right? Okay, what is it? Friends for you?
No, is it fuck Friends for me? No, it's not for me. I mean, listen, I'm just a young man looking to change that. See, the one thing that I like about.
Oh no, I know, I got it. It was Beavis and Butthead.
No, you're the butthead, you cunt. No, but I think you've got great ideas, right? But you also, it's implementing them, and you want to get everyone on the same page. And let me tell you this, right? I love the fact that that you've got the passion about that. And but the truth is this: I will pay $10 per month to your organization, 1,000,000%, right? But I'll still be doing my own, because I genuinely believe what we have is the way forward. But if you set it up, I'll pay $10 a month and help out in whatever way I see possible. I help a lot of channels. I pay this, that, or other, and if you've got a vision and you believe your vision's correct, for the sake of helping out for a few quid a month, I'll happily help you out, no problem. But
it's for the pullers. It's not just for me. Just remember that it's not about me. It's about arm wrestling and us coming together as one. It really is. I mean, if we do this, look, if we get 5,000 members, that's $600,000 plus. 10,000 members, it's $1,200,000 at 10,000 members, right? Now, if that's worldwide. Now, and again, let me emphasize: if any money that's like I said this before, Australia's money stays in Australia. Any member from Australia, the money stays in their country. We as members can go to any tournament in the world because we are members. And because we're members, we get dibs on the money. We're allowed to win that money. If you're a non-member, you can't win that money. You can still.
Let's all pay, every arm wrestler in the world, pay $5 a month to a pot, right? To a gigantic pot. And every year we stick on one giant tournament in Las Vegas or wherever it may be. So the $2 million, and we say, right, fuck it, here we go. Let's pay that and just have one massive tournament. We have a massive tournament with a $1 million payout, a $2 million payout. The world will watch. You'll make it back in pay-per-views. You'll get it in sponsors by ESPN, because there's a couple of million quid in. So how's about we start it now? I'm going to open a bank account, and I want every armist in the world to put $5 in my bank account. Right? Are you ready for this one? And I promise you, I pinky promise that I'll put a fucking $1 million tournament on when we get all that money at the end of the year. And you watch us grow like in mushroom in dark.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight your on your Arm Gods website that you have got the sponsorship packages there available for people that if they want.
Hey, the fact is that could happen if we did it.
No, I'd do it.
That's a fact. That's what I'm saying, man. That's exactly what I'm saying. If we did this, it will happen. And if we do it and we grow that big, we're an entity. We're not just arm wrestling now. We're like Little League Baseball. We've all of a sudden we've got a real league of people that are all part of the same freaking thing. It's mind blowing to me that it's like pulling teeth to get people to understand this concept because it's so simple. As you just said, if we all put in $5 and we had $1 million tournament, oh, bro, everybody and their brother would be out to win that $1 million.
Well, let's start it now. Let's start it tonight. Someone open a bank account and I'll stick me $5 a month in. No problem. Do it.
Well, it'd be yeah, okay. We'll do that too.
On the Arm Gods website there.
Yeah,
we'll do that as well.
I'm about the sport. Like, I mean, I love my arm wrestling. When I got involved in arm wrestling, I did it for the fun, just because I liked arm wrestling. Now, I never envisioned myself as being a promoter until I saw that the UK was in a downward spiral, and then I felt like I took it on myself to promote it. I never really thought about starting Arm Gods. I did some tournaments, Arm Wrestling Gods, before Marcus got involved, and I was just trying to pick up and give the guys in the UK some half decent tournaments. I wasn't looking to continue it really. We made a thing called the PAA, which is the Professional Arm Wrestling Association, which Dan Earthquake runs now. He's the president, and he's been president for a few years, and he does an amazing job. And then we've got loads of other spring up promotions in UK, which are also doing an amazing job. So I feel like my job's done. Now, when I got involved with Arm Gods with Marcus, we wasn't looking to take over the world. We're not looking to be this number one promotion. That wasn't our initial aim. Our initial aim was to showcase arm wrestling in the way that we thought was going to be the best way. Now, our best way might not be yours and might not be Matt's and etc. But we wanted to showcase it. Now, when we did the first Valhalla in Ireland, we didn't really expect that much, because no one at UK ever gets the flights paid or the hotel or whatever. And then we got Devon over, and next minute it exploded out of nowhere. It just exploded, and we got a fan base from it. And then we started building on the stuff, the atmospheres. We did domestic ones, and the atmosphere were great again. And then we moved on to Canada, and that was a massive success. And then obviously the last couple of tournaments have been massive successes again. Now it's all like a snowball effect for us. It's really strange, really, because there's only really me and Marcus at the head of it all, and there's so much to do. Yeah, we have helpers. We have Dean Bolt, who's here, who's my mate, and Dan Earthquake and Holly, and a couple of other people who help out and stuff, and really loyal supporters who we love, all our Arm Gods Army and stuff. But the truth is that we're a two-man gang trying to do a giant business thing. And me and Marcus, do you know this? We've sat down. This is the honest truth. He'll vouch in this chat now. Me and Marcus have sat down for no longer together than 1 hour ever, having a couple of beers and talking about arm wrestling, how we promote it. Everything's done on phone. Our business meetings last about 5 minutes, right? And then we start talking about fucking loads of random shit. And they always did say, when you think back, they always did say the best ideas and the best things are done at the most stupid, weird times. Like, I've been sat there having a shit on toilet and just speaking to Marcus, and we've come out with these random ideas like fucking tag matches, or just like how we want a crowd, or when was in Wales having inflatable sheep, and just random shit that add to the picture of Arm Gods. And it's just, that's how we are. Yeah. And that's how all the things have been formulated. And yeah, we're not everyone's cup of tea. I admit that we're not everyone's cup of tea, but what we're doing is obviously relating to not only the pullers, but it's also relating to the fans of Arm Gods, albeit it's a small fraction of people at this moment in time. But I genuinely believe, and until I'm proven wrong, you show me any other promotion in the world that brings in non-arm wrestling fans to drink beer, eat food, have a dance, and have a great time watching arm wrestling, and can keep a crowd all night long.
Yeah,
You tell me another
that's why
promotion
we
can
love
do that.
watching the Arm Gods events. I wanted to talk about the Arm Gods Wales event before we ran out of time, kind of thing. But because we did have a massive event that took place, there was 16 matches, 6 title matches that took place on the card as well. We saw a crazy heavyweight match between James Stewart and Dean Bolt that took place on the left arm. James Stewart, too strong there, was able to dominate Dean throughout that match. I was surprised at that. What was your experience with that one, Paul?
Well, I was so happy that Dean Bolt got beaten up and James Stewart won. No, James Stewart's just rolled in now, and Dean's there as well. No, yeah, man, I loved. I mean, everyone knows that I have a special relationship with Dino. He's been with me since the start of arm wrestling gods and stuff. And yeah, I would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen him win a Commonwealth belt to go with his world and European belt. But then you've got James Stewart, who I think the world of, and I'm becoming close to. He's an unbelievable guy. Spent plenty of time with him in Canada, and yeah, I was very happy to see him to win his belt and go against Ryan Epsey. I think it's going to happen in Winter Blast. Ryan Epsey or Cody Merritt, depending on how it goes. I mean, we all know that Ryan Epsey's a bore fest, and he's possibly won't even pull James Stewart due to the fact that he doesn't fit into the arm gods, and we might just put him into the actual arena and beat him to death instead of letting him arm wrestle. oh! Give us a who in the chat if you want to see beat Ryan Epsey to death. If you give us 10 who's in the chat, I promise you, Winter Blast will beat Ryan Epsey to death in the arena.
That's fantastic. One of the other big matches that would surprise me that I found incredibly entertaining, one of the best ones I've seen this year, if not maybe one of the best I've seen of all time. Oni Jackson and Hasim Al Hakim had an absolute crazy war that each round went for, I don't know, maybe 40, 50 seconds, and they were absolutely moving through every possible technique. They've had to rest in the middle. Neither one of them could sort of get a dominant position. They were working so hard against each other. And Oni Jackson coming in at just 18 years old and put on a performance like that was just absolutely incredible to see.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's some studs. I mean, I love the domestic dust ups because you really get to see the passion. You actually get to showcase your own talent, and that's what Gods was a pillar to start with. I mean, it was to showcase. I mean, majority of our cards are like 90% UK and Ireland, as you know, and then the rest is the rest of the world. Now, if it was for me personally, it would all be UK and Ireland. But I understand the fact that we have to promote the sport, and the best way of getting out there is by have a few foreigners in as well. I'm very much about UK and Ireland. I always have been. I always will be. I'm happy to open up to the foreigners as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. It is the right thing to do, but I've sat at home all these years and just seen no one really getting international exposure. And now people are knowing who James Waller, David Bradford, James Stewart, Dean Bolt is, Josh Davis, and all these guys. They're all getting this exposure now that they might have not got before. And that makes me feel proud and me happy because we're showing what we've got instead of seeing what the world's got. But obviously, I know we have to have the Playman Dimitrovs and people and the Ron Baths to come over because we need the eyes on the sport, and a lot of the world is not going to watch it unless you've got them top guys. So we have evolved in that way as well, and yeah, mate, it's just a work in progress. Everything that we do is a work in progress. I'm not going to say that we've got that miracle cure overnight, but we're aiming to get there, and we're not blinkered. We're not just going to stay in one lane. We're going to do what we believe it takes, right or wrong. I mean, there might never be another tag match, but we did the first ever tag match. We're going to do the first. We're going to do the first ever electricity match. We're going to do the first ever topless match, and that's a genuine thing. It's going to happen.
What about like a real nail, like a 3.5-inch 16-penny nail?
No, we'll leave that up to you. We're not doing that one. I've got one of them through my foreskin. But the truth is that was the tag match successful? Did some people think yes, some people think no. But the truth is this: we tried it. We had the bollocks to try it, no matter which way the cat jumps. We had the balls to try stuff, and that's the difference between us. We're not following the norm. We're not looking at the same big picture as everybody else. We're doing our own thing outside of the box, right or wrong. We're doing what we believe's best, and that's all we can do. I suppose that's what any promoter can do, what they believe is best. But the truth is this, and I'm going to leave it on this comment because I'm going to go to bed now. But I will leave you with this. Listen, rest of the world, you all try and be the best, but you have to settle for being the rest, because Gods is the best. We promote it better. We do things better. We are number uno. We are number one. And that's it. Little acorns, big trees grow. The rest of the world can follow the norm. They can follow the herd. But who are the rich people in the world? The rich people are the people that don't follow the herd and don't buy at the top of the fucking stock market. They buy when it's down there. Grandma Betty says, oh, listen, let's get to the top of the world. Let's get me auntie, my uncle, and my brother and my sister. And they all follow the herd. We don't follow the herd. We veer off. And the people that veer off are not the ones that get eaten by lions, tigers, and bears. They're the ones that make the millions and promote arm wrestling to the masses. Trust me, guys, when I tell you this. Good night. God bless. Oh, Marcus Thompson, fuck off.
Cheers. Cheers to you, Paulie.
Take care, guys. Good night. God bless.
Thanks, Matt.
Peace, man. Take it easy.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go. I know you probably haven't had a chance to watch the Arm Gods event, but it was tremendous. They did have an incredible show on the weekend, just gone with some amazing matches. And as Paul said, the atmosphere that they get there in person is just second to none. It's just everyone's invested. There was no one looking at their phone. There was no one like just chatting amongst themselves. Everyone in that audience, every time you saw the audience, they were all on the edge of the seat, or they were standing, or they were cheering, or they were booing the next guy that was coming out.
Nice.
Yeah, so that crowd, you attend one of those shows, you're going to be an arm wrestling fan for life. I think they really capture it so well. And the good thing about it, from a viewer's perspective, watching on stream, was it really did come across and get translated through watching it online and not being there in person. You could tell like this room is going off, like everyone's cheering, everyone's having a great time, and you felt like, oh, I'm watching this and I'm getting caught up in it, like I'm getting excited as well, and I even didn't know who either of these guys are, but he's been cheered and he's been booed and he's laughing and so yeah, I think they did a really good job.
And that wasn't a pay-per-view, it was just straight view streamed.
Yeah, so with the Arm Gods, they do a subscription model, which is what we were talking about earlier. So on their website, £5 a month, but that gets you literally every piece of content that they've put out, including all of their big events. And so with this one that was on the weekend, if you're a $5 member, you can just load up the stream. It's right there, and away you go.
Very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. They're doing good things, and I know that you're doing good things with the league idea, and there seems to be a lot of positivity in the sport and people trying out, maybe this is the direction. Let me try this. Let me try a different table. Let me try a different organization structure. Let me try a different live in-person atmosphere. You're seeing all these different places that are adding different elements, and it's sort of like, well, what's working for them, or what's working for them. And you can sort of learn from other people's mistakes in a way, and you can see, well, I can see from maybe East versus West, well, when I was watching it, or when my friends were watching it, they got bored very quickly because the setups were really long. Okay, well, maybe that's something we can look at adjusting in our own organization. But maybe they were really invested when they knew who was pulling. So if it was Levan and Devon, they were like, oh, they didn't care about the setups at that point because they knew who each guy was, and they knew that this was important. And maybe they didn't understand exactly what was happening, but they were like, I'll understand who wins because it's the great thing about arm wrestling is pretty simple. It's like if you get your arm there, then you're the winner.
Most of the time.
Well, most of the time. The worst thing is when you're commentating and then you call a pin, and then you're giving a big history of like how it's going to change the course of the match, and then they go, oh no, by the way, it was a foul. They're going to restart.
Yeah, or like so many of the matches do end in fouls, which is a real bummer too. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a matter of, again, the format. I think we talked about it last time I was on your show, was editing. You know what I mean? Not live streaming it and editing and putting it out an hour later so that you're not watching all the nonsense. You know what I mean? I think that would help a lot on cutting down on the time, and then also people staying as viewers. More than 2 hours is too much. You know what I mean? Any sports show, most of them don't go more than 2 hours. So they definitely need to get that under control too. I think it'll bring a bigger viewership that way. But because I don't watch any of them, to be honest. Like I said, if it's on the weekend and I'm not competing, I'm out riding my bike or I'm doing something. I'm not sitting at home watching the tube, watching arm wrestling. Now if it was on that night, I might. You know what I mean? Prime time, like MMA fight. And that's the thing. That's what we need. We don't need to be in bars drinking, Paul. We need to be in bars watching it on the big screen TV, because we should be way beyond that already, and we're not even close to it. You know what I mean? And so, again, unless we do it ourselves, it ain't never going to happen. Mark my words. I guarantee you, it will never happen unless we do it ourselves.
Yeah,
We can try all we want. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm loving the energy and every time we see a promoter or anybody who's involved in putting matches together, they always seem to have a very big positive attitude towards it. It's like, we're going to get these things happening, and then maybe it doesn't work out exactly the way that they thought it would, but there's so much experimentation going on and people putting stuff out there at this point in time. It feels very much like the path forward can be in any direction, and take the good from this and try to eliminate as much bad as possible. And as we were talking before about reality shows and all that, with the Ultimate Fighter, with the UFC, with that first season changed drastically to the second season, because they found out, hey, maybe we shouldn't eliminate people just through a challenge. We should actually get them in the cage to fight, because maybe this guy would get his ass kicked, but everyone wanted to see that, and you missed out on that opportunity because you just kicked him off the show. So making those changes for the second season, and then the second to the third, there was different changes. And you look at it now where they're up to, like, I don't know, season 60 or something, and it's completely different to how it was back in the very first early shows. But it's all that progression, and I'm very, very. I think the sport's in a very positive place at this point in time.
Right on. Right on, Matt. Well, it was good chatting with you. Sorry if I took up too much of the time talking, but it seems there's a lot of hard-headed people out there, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. So we'll see how it fares out.
Oh, that's fine. No, absolutely. Love having you on as a guest, mate. One of the most knowledgeable people in the sport. And it was 40 plus years or something you've been involved in arm wrestling. So you've
a long time. I've been competing since I was 15 years old. So yeah, like I said, I've seen it all: over the top, Yukon Jack. I've seen a lot of big promotions happen and been a part of a lot of big promotions. And I like I said, I work in the motion picture industry. I can pretty much build any stage. I can build anything, literally. And I know the format that needs to be done for the sport. It hasn't been done yet. And it's not that it's a real simple format. But you're going to see it. You'll see it before the end of next year. It'll start, I think, the beginning of 2025 will be the beginning. But I think by the end of 2025, you'll have people that know exactly when arm wrestling's happening just by seeing the staging. just by seeing the staging alone. So
Yeah, tremendous.
hopefully people jump on board and we get it worldwide, and it won't just be the elite, the big, social media guys they're making a little bit of coin on the side by promoting themselves and telling people that you don't have to hold on in arm wrestling. If you're holding on, you're an idiot. I love those words. Love those words.
Yeah, I know you're a big fan of strap arm wrestling.
Hey, I like the strap too, man. I do like the feel of the strap and comfortable, and it feels good sometimes, but it's not a fucking option. You know what I mean? It's a technicality. If two guys slip because the torque is too much, they can't hold on anymore because they're trying to grab for a better grip instead of for your fingertips and cheating, then it would change the sport back into arm wrestling. But if you're going to allow the strap to be a part of it as like every other match or every match, then don't call it arm wrestling anymore. Call it strap arm wrestling, or come up with some other name, the strap on. That might even draw more people. Just call it the strap on. And all you guys that like the strap on, so be it. Keep putting it on.
I do very consciously try to avoid saying strap on as much as possible. And I try to say apply the strap, but every now and then I slip up and I go, yeah, so they're getting the strap on. And I'm like, damn it, I said it.
That's great, man.
When you got like Hooker, he's really in deep with a hooker and a strap on, and it's like there's so many the innuendos that can play out. And
no, it's good shit.
I just quickly wanted to ask before you go, with the strap design, is that the current model we've got, it's a buckle that loops around both competitors' wrists and then goes back through the middle, comes down and gets tightened. Has that always been the way that it's been, or has there been other types of straps out there?
There was a glove where you slipped your hand. It was a leather glove. You slipped your hand through the glove. They had their own separate glove they slipped through, and it was stitched together. And you still gripped hands, and it had two straps that went around your wrist, two straps that went around your wrist. And it wasn't that effective. Of course, it kept you from slipping, but you could literally not be holding on to the other guy's hand being in the glove. So, and then you had the Velcro strap, which I'm bringing back, which is the best strap there is, I believe. And that is because the buckle will play no factor. And it's a real simple fix for the strap itself, because it didn't have, I'm not going to reveal it right now because I already have, but I'm not going to say it again until I do it. But, and then there was a strap that Corey Miller came out with that was just strapping around the palms. So it didn't go around your wrist, which I like that better too, because now it's still a little bit of arm wrestling and the hand's still involved. The only difference is you got a strap on. And what I noticed when people put the strap on, and I'm going to keep saying the strap on, they put it on, and a lot of times they won't even regrip. They actually hold on.
Oh.
You know what I mean? It's like a phenomenon. It's like, because you can't slip. Now all of a sudden you're not opening your fingers anymore. It's like, but there are guys that totally regrip. Michael Todd and regrip when they're in the strap. And of course, he's using his bone lock and the desperado move and using all the leverage possible, elbow in the air above the pad, lengthening his arm by 2 inches, getting a total advantage, regripping, then standing back up and pressing him. That's complete cheating in my book, 100%. So when you regrip for more hand. You don't regrip to get out of the hand. It's common sense. So when the referees apply those rules, then the game will change. Then the rules would become a factor. When the rules are enforced, like any game, you have a legit game. Right now, we don't have legit arm wrestling. We don't. So it's a circus show.
That strap you were talking about, just that second one, so it would come across your palm and then your wrist. How is it different to the ones we've got currently, or the one Corey Miller design?
It just goes across your palm.
Oh,
so it just goes across your hand. It doesn't wrap around the wrist.
Oh, I see.
So literally just goes around your hands and then cinches. So now you're tied here. but guys still try to slip out. But that's an easy call. You know what I mean? If a guy does that, then he's letting go. I mean, if your hand's like this, you're not holding on. You know what I mean? Right there, the match should be like, close your hand. That's a foul. Not leave it open and wait till this guy can't hold on anymore and then regrip over his fingertips. That's cheating. That's not arm wrestling. So enforce those rules and you fix the game. It's not that difficult. It really isn't, man. It's like it's just real. It's all common sense. It's all basic. And arm wrestling's a very simple sport. Put your elbow on the pad, grip hands, and hold on. Hold on to the peg, and try to pin your opponent without physically touching your body to any part of your arm or hand. That's it, man. Simple game. But no, we got to have all slips go to a strap. Oh, so I can just let go? Yeah, well, fuck it. Why am I even closing my hand? Come on, man.
Yeah, it is incredibly frustrating from even just watching it as an audience
Stop the
member.
nonsense. Yeah, stop the nonsense, man. It's crazy.
Two top rollers walk up to the table and it's like, look, you guys are going to have to start in the strap here because I know both of you are just going to instantly let go and go the opposite direction. I was like, oh no, we'll hold on. It's like, well, you better not just slip. And then it's like, you know,
they let go.
What? It's like, I told you. Why did you waste everyone's time?
Dude, hey, and this shit gets tiresome. Your shoulders get tired constantly having to reset the same guys up over and over again because they can't hold on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the time that's consumed is a waste of time, man. And we allow it. And we're always like, what's going to make it go faster? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, well, I like the idea you were talking about. I know you didn't want to reveal it too much, but that does sound like it would speed things up for sure.
Yeah. I should have that. That strap will be ready by the end of the year as well.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Well, thank you again for jumping on, mate. I think we might wrap things up there. And Scott Wynn, obviously one of the veterans in the arm wrestling world, has seen it all come and go and is still involved heavily in the sport. And great to have you on the show. And Armgods Wales, check them out, armgods.com, £5 a month. You can check out every piece of content that they have on that website, including all of their events. And the event they just had was a tremendous event. You should go and check it out for sure.
Hey, let me give a shout out to the Best Damn Arm Wrestling Sports Show is our podcast. So if you get a chance to check it out, Best Damn Arm Wrestling Sports Show. We've had some of the best guests, some of the top guys in the sport. We're a little bit different from all the other podcasts. We kind of get a little bit more intimate and personal with some of the players. So it's pretty cool. We're going to have Doug Urich on next and Ron Bath after that. So if you get a chance, check it out. Best Damn Arm Wrestling Sports Show on YouTube. Awesome.
Is that scheduled on certain times each week?
No, it's random. It's random. We don't record it. We record it and then put it out the next day. We edit, and then it depends on the guest on their schedule. So
fantastic. Best Damn Arm Wrestling Sports Show. So check it out for sure, as well as Paul Italia. Big thanks to Paul Italia for allowing me to run the show on my channel this week, trying to help things out. Paul's been flying all over the country, setting up businesses, and yes, he hasn't had the chance to sit down and have a proper internet connection. So we thought, well, we'll run it on mine. It's stable. It's going to work. And we were able to get great guests in like Paul Maiden and Scott Wynn, as well as Dave Stockbridge popping in today. So thank you to everyone for tuning in. And check out Scott Wynn's The Best Damn Arm Wrestling Podcast show. And thank you, everyone. We'll give you a last double bicep there just to finish things off. Oh, we got a nice flex from Scott as well. Fantastic.
I don't have biceps. So I ordered them and they never came in.